This is your host Blake, and this is going to be the conclusion of our John Woo series. This is episode 105, and we are going to be concluding with his war epic, Red Cliff, part 1 and 2. One movie, honestly. But let me introduce my co-host before we actually get into anything. Danny.
Hello.
And Luke.
Hello.
All right, so Red Cliff. Before we actually get into any backstory or history in the movie, I actually want to know what you guys think about it, because Luke, this is your first time watching it, and Danny, I know he likes it a little bit, but not on the level of most John Woo movies, and I can agree with that for the most part. But I still really do love this movie, and I'll get into why later. But what do you guys think about it?
It's not really my thing, to be honest. I mean, it's like
hater.
No,
I'm kidding.
It's fine.
No, it's not. That's the least surprising thing.
Yeah. No, there's a lot of good parts about it. I think there's a lot of great moments. The action is cool at points for me. It's just too much sometimes.
But okay, what is it though that you don't
I think it's just the epic and just the how large scale it is. It feels and just a lot of those historical epics, if there's a lot of action, I can kind of just be a bit I guess disconnected from it a lot of the time. It's just it is hard for me, but I feel I think I don't like this as much as a lot of the other ones, because I like the more intimacy of the other ones.
Yes.
But no, there's still good moments here.
This one's fairly intimate too.
There's points, sure. It's just
it's not. Yeah, they're fairly intimate for okay, if you're comparing it to a Hollywood epic, yes.
Yes.
If you're comparing it to a John Woo, A Better Tomorrow, then it just it's almost not the same director in a lot of ways.
Okay. It's obviously the same.
I mean, not obvious, because I think that
obvious.
it's a good way to say large scale versus intimate though. And that doesn't mean bad either way. It's just I prefer. I'm taking over now, but
okay, all right.
No, because you said something that's similar, that had me thinking about this movie. Is why I don't love it. Because I will say I liked it more watching it this time, both parts. I'll probably bump them both half star each that I give the first ones, first time. But I think it's similar to Luke. I just prefer the more I literally had this realization partly while watching, especially in part 2, the action kind of just gets not repetitive, but it's I realized I don't really like the almost loud action as much, that's how I would say it. It's there's quiet action and loud action.
I can see that.
Especially when it's cross-cutting through a lot of different things that are happening.
Yeah. It's just
there's a lot of cross-cutting.
Especially John Woo's, he usually is a lot of his gunfights, he's usually very focused, and he's showing the one the killer one where they're going through the hospital and stuff. He's staying on them.
Yeah.
And it's fun to watch from that, but this one is
there's just so many.
It feels a lot more generic action, I guess. Where you're just cutting across through a lot of different stuff happening on a battlefield.
I wouldn't call it generic action, but it's still really good in my opinion.
No, but that's what I was gonna say though. It's there are moments as we go through it that I really loved, especially in the first part, part 1. I felt some of the action was a little better. Maybe I don't know. Maybe it's just because it felt newer, and then watching part 2 the next day, it's just it feels more the same, even though it's probably just as good, but.
Well, part 2 is it's more. Both of them have CGI heavy moments. This. Okay, so Red Cliff, it is it's definitely. I think one of you mentioned before the podcast that it was someone said John Woo bringing Hollywood to to China basically, and like making this movie that combines both of them.
Yeah, there's a Letterboxd reviewer where he was saying it kind of negatively, but he was saying how like John Woo brought Hollywood back with him.
Yes, but that's what John Woo wanted to do also. That's what he said. So John Woo said he was like, I want to bring what I've learned from Hollywood back to China and like show them how to do a big budget CGI like heavy movie, which that has spawned a lot of not great movies, obviously. But it's also part of the reason why China nowadays is one of the foremost in terms of like CGI heavy epics. Like I don't know if you like. Do you guys know what the Wandering Earth movies are or anything like that?
I've seen those.
I know what you're talking about.
I haven't seen like I've heard of them. Basically.
Yeah, like they have those are the only two I've seen, and I personally don't love them that much. But
the movie this makes me think of is when Matt Damon was in that Great Wall movie.
Okay, that's another one that spawned. That's terrible.
Like, exactly,
Great Wall is bad. That one's
but
really
I know,
bad.
but it's like this kind of genre, CG heavy, like especially in the wide shots. All of a sudden, you're going like it's not. I'm not saying this is bad, but almost video game kind of aesthetic, where it's like, especially like this is mid 2000s.
No, that's 2000.
But I like it though. Like I think it looks good. Like especially it gets creative on like how big a lot of these armies.
Well, because and it has like there are a lot of transitional moments in this that obviously are not John Woo, where it's just like a slash in the screen going to the next one, which that sucks all the time. But then you also have the ones where it's like he's zooming in on like the tortoise shell. And then it goes like cuts like almost directly to the army and how they're built like a tortoise. So yeah, it still has those
there's
moments.
Really cool moments like that where I think he does mix it pretty well. But...
Yes, but like and something that takes this higher than movies that come after it is he was actually given like 1,500 extras to work with and from the Chinese army. So like China really wanted John Woo to make this movie successful, and to their credit, like it was a huge success. Like Red Cliff was a massive success. In Asia especially, like both parts were pretty massive successes, but having like those 1,500 extras, it really does make the movie feel realer than it actually is, because that was the one thing I was scared about, because I did rewatch this earlier this year just because I hadn't seen it since like 2018 I think, and I was really scared that the CGI was going to be extremely heavy and bad, and whenever I watched it again this year, both these times, I was like, thankfully the CGI is really not that bad, and it's really not that heavy either, because he's mixing in a lot of like real actors and real stunts into this movie too. Like so much so that there was actually a stuntman that like died, which was kind of crazy. Like it was a fire accident, which I mean, obviously there's a lot of explosions in the second half that look insane. So, but. So like Red Cliff, my experience with this, I didn't even know who John Woo was the first time I watched this movie. I watched this because one of our friends that I was hoping could be on the podcast, but he couldn't make it, recommended it to me, saying it was one of the greatest war epics he had ever seen before. Like he would put it on the level of like things like Das Boot and just like Kingdom of Heaven and things like that. I don't know if he's seen Lawrence of Arabia, but Lawrence of Arabia is a lot like this too in terms of like scope. And John Woo wanted that obviously because he loves Lawrence of Arabia. So yeah, I didn't know who John Woo was the first time I watched this, but I loved it because it did feel epic and it felt like watching a romanticized version of this Chinese story that I knew about already. And that's something that we should also talk about before actually getting in the movie. This battle is a battle in the book The Romance of the Three Kingdoms, which is fucking massive. Like, I have the book. I'm only 100 pages in right now, in a 1,000-page book, where the words are literally, like, so tiny. They fit, like, an entire chapter's worth of other books into, like, one page almost, it feels. So it's, like, it's really hard to get
when is this book written? Like, what?
So the book was written in, like, I think mid-1200s of, like, so, like, almost 1,000 years ago. But the book was also made, like, it was written romanticized of the original version that came out 1,000 years before it even. So John Woo's taking, like, a romanticized version of an actual historical battle and romanticizing it even more, basically. I love that about it, though. And after knowing more about John Woo now, and obviously watching a lot more of his movies, Red Cliff really does. It feels like a John Woo movie to me because he is going for that emotional connection more so than most epics, especially. And then he's pairing it well with like epic scale that I personally do enjoy. But I know it's not for everyone. But
I enjoy some of it. The emotion is where I might disagree. Like, that's what I'm saying. Maybe for a normal, like, if he's trying to make a Hollywood generic blockbuster, but for China, you know, like, to try to show him a formula, like, I can see, yeah, there is some emotion there. But, like, for John Woo, like, this has got to be lower tier. Like,
lower tier.
Like, in terms of, like, just establishing the brotherhood, like, you know, like, it's got some of his themes for sure. Like, they're there, like, between Tony Leung and,
Tony Leung and Takashi.
Yeah, what's his name? Kenshiro?
I think it's Takashi Kenshiro. Yeah.
Okay, yeah. Even they're both good in their roles and everything, but just like I don't know, they just don't feel like they don't have the John Woo personality. Like there's no Chow Yun Fat or even like a Tony Leung showing off his range. Showing off his range though. It's more like he's just a hero, you know. Like,
and I mean that's part of what the movie is.
Yeah, I know.
It's like,
but like John Woo's like just he has way more personality as characters usually. Like,
no, yeah, I do think there's a lot of personality in these guys, especially in like the second part. I said especially in the second part, whenever they're like literally talking about like we're gonna take each other's heads.
Okay.
Like there's a lot of good emotional building.
There's some good moments, like,
but
like Last Hurrah for Chivalry, like because you said the picture you used for this.
No, yes, yeah.
You compared to that one, but like that one has even way more than this. Like it's like way more like lighthearted and fun. I guess maybe was why I like it. Like John was always, even in his serious movies, he always got like kind of a lighthearted, like I don't know, like a little fun nature to him. But this one just feels a little more generic to me. Like it's a little just flatter, I guess.
I still don't know about generic. Like I
maybe generic's the wrong word.
Generic's
the wrong word. It's just missing. I don't know. Some of the John Woo style I like. Maybe it's just the intimate nature of it. This one just a little more expansive.
It's got, I don't know, yeah. It's got this, it's still got the connection, but like the dual sides of the same coin with the Takashi Kaneshiro, Tony Leung character, and it's got the Cao Cao character who is the one that's looking inside of like the relationship he wants to have, basically, and that's the whole reason this war was started. Which that's one of my least favorite parts about the movie is like.
Well, okay, we're gonna get into that. We're gonna get into that. Not only that, like. These are maybe two of his worst women characters, honestly. The other one too, like the sister.
Spy.
Yeah, the spy. Oh my god, like Sun Quan's sister. Yeah, his sister. Like that must be is that in the book? That has to.
No,
be
yeah,
in the book.
she's in the book.
I was like, there's no other. That better be in the book. Like, this is so bad.
She's in the book. I don't know if that's specific.
But it's like what? But there's probably a lot of stuff in the book they cut out. Just cut that shit out. Like, I mean, it really takes me out of the movie. I'm not gonna lie. Like, there's sort of like. Her information is not even that important, really. Like, they're, like, setting up their whole plan of attack, kind of just, like, ignoring... Like, they're not relying on her plans or anything, I feel like. So, like, when she comes in, like, reveals her plans later, like... I guess they do use it, but...
They definitely do.
But it's, like, it's not like they were planning for it, though.
So.
It is a good scene where she's, like, rolling the map, so... It's just like it's not like they were planning for that. Like they were relying on that. Like they never even talked about it before she gets there. I feel like,
well, no one knew she was gone over there except for Julia.
Well, she was sending the doves, I guess, like for messages.
No, yeah, but... was another John Woo thing?
Yeah. No, but yeah, and then the wife too, like you said, it's not the greatest.
Yeah, no,
it's not the greatest motivation.
I don't really hate the princess's role. Honestly, I don't hate her scenes in like Cao Cao's camp. It leads to like a really stupid death, honestly, like really dumb. But
well, I guess we're skipping ahead.
We're skipping way ahead. We could just go ahead and get right into the movie though, because it does open with like one of the most generic of John Woo, not like music wise.
You said
I do love the music, but like generic title card or generic like opening credits because it's just showing an opening credit. Like it's just really normal.
It doesn't have like sucks. John Woo's exposition of like a life backstory.
Exactly. Imagine if we would have had that. But the score is amazing. It really gets you in the mood for the movie that you're about to watch, in my opinion. But
definitely.
But there is a lot. So like, if you don't know Chinese history, there's a lot that would probably go over your head in this because they don't really explain a lot of it at all.
That's another thing too. I probably should have mentioned maybe for both of us. It's like if there was like an epic scale like this, but if it was about the Civil War. Like, I would be able to engage with it a little more just because, like, I know the characters, you know, because growing up in America and everything. But, like, I feel like, you know, you said this was successful in China because they would have known these people.
Yeah, this is one of their epics. This is, like, one... I think it's called one of the four, like...
And honestly, Chinese history just has way more epics and stuff like that in general than just American history. It's obviously only, like, 250 years old, so...
They do.
But yeah, so that's why it's just different like that. Like, I just don't know that much about Chinese history in general. So it kind of is just, like, watching... a straight up action movie because I don't know the backstory of the characters, you know. And he's probably assuming people know a lot of the the players already.
Yeah, because he doesn't explain a lot. Like
that's why I said I'm still bumping it up because this time it was a lot easier for me to follow along. like watching the first time, I was getting
Oh, yeah.
confused by the names a lot. I was like, wait, who is this? Like,
Who's
just
this
the
guy?
names. Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
wait, who's the general that's bad? Because like you actually don't see the main characters,
The good guys.
the good
Yeah.
guy, or like you see the Uncle Lou or something. The
Yeah, Liu Bei.
yeah, but like I thought he was gonna be the main characters first, you know, like on watching and stuff, and then it's like, and then you only later
is
get
not
to Tony
about him.
Leung, who's at Redcliffe, who's actually not the like leader, but he's
Yeah.
like going to be the leader of the movie.
He's the
you know?
general. He's like one,
he's the general.
one of the main
but-
generals.
Yeah, exactly. So now it's made a little more sense on
Yes.
rewatch, but
Yeah, he definitely is trying to do a lot in this, and like it's definitely he's going for it. He's definitely going for
Yeah,
it,
which
with
is
this
weird
movie.
because I feel like he never like has done that before.
Yeah, like, well, I mean, he's gone for it in terms of like just the like hard boiled, like fuck, like that's going for it.
guess.
Also,
So what do you mean in this context, though? Because a lot of these are all different. Like, what do you mean? What does that mean in this
But like,
context?
so like going for it just means he's really trying to succeed at this type of story, basically at like bringing this type of story to life. Like he's really just going for it.
Okay.
And to his credit, I do think he succeeds personally, but
Like he's trying to get as much possible.
yeah, like he's trying to get as much as possible in without telling people the backstory, which I kind of love because he's just giving you the most important things that he thinks you need to know, and then romanticizing the rest of it. Like one of my reviews on Redcliffe is like, it opens with a quote of like, "This was not made for the History Channel," and that's because John Woo himself is like only 50% of this is like accurate to the book. The other 50% is just him making it up. So
I feel like maybe some of the other Brotherhood stuff might have been.
no, yeah, like I think well the entire wife thing was completely made. I think
Oh
that
my
was
gosh,
fun.
that's so
But
this guy.
But yeah, so this movie opens with like the Han court. So like the Hans, they were the dynasty before the war, the Three Kingdoms that this book is actually about, and they were falling. Obviously, they were a falling empire basically, and Cao Cao was one of the generals that saved. I say saved in air quotes, but he really did save the emperor at the time. But then he really only saved him so he could actually take power. And that's what you see in this scene is like Cao Cao's the real emperor, honestly. Like the emperor is just
he's
a
acting like the
figurehead.
emperor, yeah.
Yeah, the emperor is just a figurehead for him. Because like the emperor was he I think he says something like I need more time to think. I don't really want to go to war with Wu. Yeah. And Cao Cao's like, no, we are going to war.
Yeah,
He's like, okay, we're going to war. But so like that's something that you just won't get on the first watch if you don't already know the stuff like that. But he's saying that they need to attack Liu Bei and Sun Quan because they're the only two powers that could actually affect himself. He's not saying that, but he's saying that they're trying to like rebel against the emperor. But like it really moves fast after this because like a senator stands up to Cao Cao and immediately gets beheaded, and then the army just marches. So like we're already into it, but it's like. The army marching, there's a lot. This is like what I was talking about. There's a lot of CGI, yes, but he's also using a lot of real extras in these scenes too, which is really nice.
You notice that especially, I mean, a little later with the Redcliffe scenes.
Oh yes,
especially you could tell.
No, yeah, there's a lot of amazing scenes where it's like very CGI heavy, but then like he's just got a lot of people on screen too. That's really nice.
Yes.
But then we get our first glimpse of our actual heroes, but this one's only the actual secondary heroes of the story, really, because it's like the introduction to Liu Bei's army and what will eventually become the Kingdom of Shu. This is a very famous battle also, where Liu Bei he was forced to retreat from Cao Cao and he had to protect peasants on the way, and people were trying to tell him to like get rid of the peasants, like Zhuge Liang implies, like he's like if we would just move along without these peasants, we would get out of here. But he doesn't want to.
He says like something like we have to let go of petty things, like talking about the peasants.
Yes.
The other guy's like, well, what's the point of war if we don't protect these people?
Exactly. Well, yeah, that's like Liu Bei's whole thing is he's known as the most righteous of the Chinese rulers of the time. Whether that's just because the Romance of the Three Kingdoms portrays him like that, like the romanticized version of it, no one really knows if he was actually like this, but this is how he's always portrayed, as a man seeking righteousness always, and always standing up for the little people, basically. Okay. So he obviously doesn't leave them, and it leads to a lot of good action, in my opinion, in this. Because we get like our introduction to his main generals that we're going to be also seeing a lot in this movie. I think we first get introduced to Zhang Fei, which is just the guy with the big beard and the wild hair,
yes.
Just the really big guy that yells a lot.
Every like historical movie has this like one guy. Like.
Exactly.
Yes, honestly.
Yeah, he just yells a lot. But yeah, we're getting introduced to them while Cao Cao's charging as well. So a lot of stuff is happening in this movie. Like I think we already mentioned before, but there's a lot of cross-cutting in this between storylines that makes it.
Which is another thing that kind of annoys me.
Yes,
certain scenes, because like he does. That's maybe what I was trying to talk about with John Woo's action. Like like a certain gunfight, like his gung fu is usually doesn't. Even though he is cross-cutting, it doesn't feel like it's cross-cutting now because it feels like you're watching like one shootout. One location.
Yeah, like Hard Boiled, we're watching two scenes basically, or three scenes even.
Well, actually, Hard Boiled has a little more cross-cutting, like with some of the events. Yeah, I'm thinking more like The Killer or like Better Tomorrow, where it's like you're staying in one location mostly. Or like,
well, I mean,
with one group of characters.
Hard Boiled too.
Hard Boiled, yeah, but it's like different events. I'm saying like literally just like one event, like you're following two guys shoot through a building or something, versus like three different things going on. You're cross-cutting, like it. If you don't like the action, it can be hard to follow because you're like, it just becomes like a little mindless,
It does,
but there are some good moments, like when the cavalry's like coming. I have in my notes, like when they like reflect the light into.
Oh yeah.
There's like a lot of good little moments like that where you can tell they put some thought into like
all the general strategy.
Yes,
in the movie.
yes. That's why I wish there was more of
like
that.
the ropes. That's probably my favorite.
Those
part.
are really good too.
Or the turtle formation. We'll get to.
Like was the ropes actually a thing that happened, or was that something he made up?
Probably. I haven't gotten their book yet.
Wait, the what?
When they use the ropes, like
the nooses to drag the horses.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure.
Or the arrows thing. The arrows thing. Obviously, that's like one of my favorite scenes.
Oh, that one, part two.
In part two, yeah.
No, that actually happened. That did happen. That one happened for sure. But I don't know about this one, about the ropes. I'm sure it did because it's just a strategy that would obviously be used in that situation. Yeah. But I do love that one too.
But see, that's why I like some of that stuff. Like it just, maybe it is just the cross cutting. Like it does become like
it's a lot
exhausting, especially watching these back-to-back days. Like it's 5 hours of. Like, that's why I'm thinking it might just be, like, the action's basically the same in both movies. I'm just, like, because I got tired of it, I think the second one's worse. And maybe if, like, I watched these a year apart, like how John Woo probably had them come out or whatever, but...
No, yeah. I wonder, like, I've never actually done that because, obviously, if I watch part one, I'm going to watch part two.
Yeah, if you have it available.
I've never waited, like, a year. Or
it might have been more than a year. I don't know. What's it a year?
I think it was just a year. I think it was just a year. Like, they released it a year later in China.
They filmed it, like, all at one time.
Probably it makes sense if they would have done that. So.
I don't know. But, I mean, yeah, I've never watched it like that. That'd be interesting to try at some point. But one of the major moments in this battle that we need to talk about is, like, Zhao Zilong, who is one of the generals that is kind of a John Woo character through and through. Like he's the one that always believes in like this brotherhood and loyalty. And like later on, like part two, he's one of the ones that just leaves and goes back to hell, basically.
Well, I thought he might have been the one he wanted Chow Yun Fat because he saves a baby.
Oh, that's
literally in this scene. He literally saves a baby.
He does save a baby.
So I thought that was a reference to Hardball just because of that. Like,
it did feel like a reference to Hardball. That's why I thought.
Yeah, and he's like you saying he's kind of got some Chow Yun Fat elements to him. Like.
He does. Actually, I should bring up Chow Yun Fat because John Woo and him actually did agree to work on this movie, but then Chow Yun Fat pulled out. He was actually going to be Zhao Yu, which is Tony Leung's character, and so. That would have been interesting, honestly. I would have loved to see Chow Yun Fat in this role, too.
Yeah.
But he did pull out, so that kind of sucks. Terrence Chang said it was because of, like, contract restrictions from his Hollywood agency. Like, he couldn't actually work on their movie or something like that. I didn't actually read the whole thing, though. But, so Tony Leung stepped in because he had been friends with John Woo for 20 years, so he was like, I'm going to help him out. But no, yeah, like, the Zhao Zilong character, you could easily see someone like Chow Yun Fat playing this character. But yeah, him saving the baby is amazing. It really is. But then we get like the Cao army advancing or like attacking in full force, and this is the like shield blinding strategy that Danny was talking about, which is amazing. And then we get like just Ji Long's badass heroic escape, just carrying the baby on his back and killing fucking everyone. Like it's insane. But
this story is like if you don't know the story, you're like, oh, these are the main characters I'm getting invested in. All of a sudden, like we barely see these guys like later. Like
they are the main characters of their own story. It's just
okay, that's not the story.
It's not the story we're talking about, though.
Because he literally is framed like as the hero and stuff. Like he brings the baby and he's like, we're not going to see this guy again.
You have served your purpose.
You have served your purpose for showing how good you are. But, after all this stuff happens, we get, like, a general relaying that they were victorious to Cao Cao. And this is amazing because like Guan Yu was introduced a little bit earlier whenever they were like, someone calls out like, where are our reinforcements, and then it's just like Guan Yu appearing. Just like that's a video game moment for sure when I was at Luke. But Guan Yu, I know I talked about him on the Hardboiled episode because it was one of the shrines in the police station that this is the guy that I was talking about where I said he was deified after death because he was like a literal god of war in life, and so he was deified as the god of war in death. That's this man, and it's whenever the generals were laying like their victory is Cao Cao, it's just like him throwing a spear. Yes. And it's like landing like almost directly killing Cao Cao. It's fucking awesome.
And then Cao Cao's like, I'm gonna let him live. That's this guy?
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah. And that's another thing that you wouldn't know if you don't know history is like Cao Cao actually, Guan Yu does serve under Cao Cao eventually for a little bit. It was just because he had to. I think it was because Cao Cao saved his life and he just had to serve him. It was like a debt. It was like a debt that he felt like he had to repay. But then he went back to leave.
I mean, that's kind of what this moment is. He basically saves his life right here.
Yeah, he does. Lets him live. He does. But yeah, I think Cao Cao actually says like that man's gonna work for me one day.
Yeah, he does say that. Yeah. But that's what I'm like. Yeah, see, that's stuff like that where I'm like, I'm definitely missing.
Yeah, backstory that you. Yeah. There's like because that is something like there is history between these people. Yeah. Like this battle takes place a long time after like the first events in like the Romance of the Three Kingdoms, like a long time, because these people were like fighting with each other and then against each other for a while too. So, but after this we get the like Shu army sitting reflecting on their defeat again, and Zhuge Liang's convinced. Zhuge Liang. We were introduced to him before, but Zhuge Liang's Takashi Kinoshiro's character, and he basically convinces Liu Bei to let him go to the kingdom of Wu to talk with Zhao Yu and Sun Xuan, to have them join in like an alliance with them to actually defeat Cao Cao, because Cao Cao is at this moment the most powerful figure in China. And so they know that if he continues to get more powerful, it's going to take two of them to stop him. And if they're only by themselves, they won't. So, but then we get back with Cao Cao. This is what I was saying. There's just a lot. There's a lot of fucking cross-cutting. But he's just saying, like, we're going to take action against Liu and Sun Quan. And then I love the quote because he's like, his entire life is a failure. Sun Quan is a young upstart with no achievements. When a loser joins forces with a coward, what can they accomplish?
Yeah. Like, see, that's a John Woo moment. Where, like, a villain would say that about, like, the two heroes.
Yes. No, yeah, I love that quote so much.
And also, I forget, Shun Quan is played by Shang Chen, who's the kid from Bride Super Day.
Oh, shit, I didn't know that.
Damn.
Yeah. I did not know that.
Well, yeah, like, so, I mean, this movie has a lot of, like, great actors from Asia.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Like, it's kind of insane.
Well, yeah, and he actually wanted Ken Watanabe to play Cao Cao, and really? The Chinese people, like, really pushed back against that, because they're like, a man of this stature in China should not be played by a Japanese man, so... So they went with the guy that played him. I honestly love the guy that played him, because his face is fucking amazing. Like, he's got these scenes later on in the movie where he's just like laughing.
Yes.
And then also the one where he's laughing and then the tiger face appears over it. It's just
he does a better job at this. Like, the guy cast is better for the part 2 where he's like kind of seen as like a clown. Not maybe a clown, but like he's kind of like
overconfident.
Yeah, overconfident. Yeah. Like when he gets that we'll get to it when he beheads the guy. Like and they're like,
it's so funny.
Yeah, that part is so funny. Yeah, that part's amazing. Yeah, we'll get to that.
No, yeah.
Yeah, but no, he's got a little more of the kind of like. Yeah, the smile, like you're saying. Like, Ken Watanabe's, like, kind of serious, you know?
He's a little serious.
Like,
I still love Ken Watanabe.
No, I like him. It would have been a different kind of take,
different.
Honestly. Yeah, it would have felt different.
It would have probably felt more sinister.
Yes.
Which, I mean, this one feels sinister, but at the end of the day, like, if you know...
But he feels kind of like... But he has that dumb nature of, like, you can believe that he's doing it for a woman, you know? Or, like...
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Like, always just because of a painting or something, but... Yeah.
Hey. Yes. Okay. That's history, folks.
Yeah.
No.
Being some Chinese soldiers, like, really, this is why we're at war?
That's why generals are... generals say that.
Yeah, I know.
Like, this fucking guy.
Yeah.
No, but before we actually get into all that shit, we have Zhuge Liang arriving in the Wu Cours. And this is our introduction to Sun Xuan, obviously. And he's trying to convince him to join an alliance with him. And already we can see the divide in their court because they're literally divided by like one side's wearing black, the other side's wearing red. That they're like one side's just all cowards and the other side just wants to fight. But he's basically convincing him, and he ends up saying like after like the men in the black robes on that one side just start screaming like, we need to surrender, like Cao Cao's too powerful, if we surrender now he'll like treat us like really well. He's like, so Zhuge Liang says, that's right, to surrender is not so bad, for the cowardly in fact, the earlier the better, that way everyone can stop worrying. But then Su Xuan obviously takes offense to that. He's like, are you saying like Liu Bei's
he's like basically goading
him? Yeah, he's goading him into it. And it's you kind of feel like he needs it also because Sun Xuan's character and the guy that played him from A Better Tomorrow, it kind of makes sense. Like, I think he portrays that like this like anxiety of not being able to like overcome your brother and your father, basically, as he says later. Like, that's something that he never thought he could overcome. Like, he could never be as good as they were, because they were very powerful figures in Chinese history too.
I do remember I don't know if we get that much of that overall throughout the movie, though. There's that one moment for sure, but like we kind of don't see him for a while.
No, his story arc basically finishes in part 1.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then we kind of see him at the end of part 2.
Yes, we see the conclusion of that. Like, But like, his storyline basically ends with that tiger hunt. But that's what I'm talking about. Is like
there's some
he portrays this like sure. He portrays this worry or like this anxiety over like not being able to like actually succeed, because like Sun Xuan, he's in the family that Sun Tzu, who was the author of like the Art of War, like that's the same family. He's in that same lineage, and his brother and his father were both like I said earlier, like massive figures in Wu history, and definitely.
See, that's another thing I'm definitely missing, like because I remember that's why he says Cao Cao he even says like that's why he calls him a coward, right?
Yeah.
Like compared to his family, like he
has no achievements.
Yeah, he has no achievements, something like that. So I was like, yeah, I'm definitely missing something here. Like
yeah, but. We do figure out Cao Cao has 800,000 people in this scene as well, compared to their like 100,000 maybe. But
that's all Tony Leung needs. That's a crazy size for an army, honestly.
It's
like when you think about it, like holy shit.
Yeah.
It's like, did they actually fight with this many people? Like,
I know a lot of historians think like they definitely had a lot of people, but they probably exaggerated the numbers, or they didn't have like accurate counts. Like when they would say 800K, probably was like 400K, you know, or like. I don't know exactly.
I mean, how can you count that many people?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's like, how do you even know?
At a certain point, you're just making shit up. Like,
yeah. Especially like Blake said, this is a romanticized story 1,000 years after a real event happened. You know, it's like people have motivations after that.
And no, there are records from like
to make yourself look better. Yeah, we beat an 800,000 army. We only had 50K. You know, like
we have 50,000.
Yeah, exactly. But.
No, there are.
They definitely had huge armies, so like
they had huge armies, but I do agree. Like historians do say, like it's definitely exaggerated a little bit, because like there are records of like Chinese history where after battles they're literally putting like 80,000 people to death by beheading. It's like, okay, like 80,000? Are we serious here?
Yeah,
like,
but a lot of that would be like narrative building. Like even today, stuff like this happens. You know, it's like if you want to scare like people. About the war or whatever, you like spread the news that 80,000 beheadings might happen, you know?
Yeah.
Like, that's intimidating.
No, yeah, like the babies and shit.
Yeah.
In Israel.
Yeah,
but
damn. I wasn't going that way, but yeah.
I'm just saying, it's all history. I mean,
like narrative building is part of history, for sure.
Yeah. It's easy to do now, too.
But that's why a lot of these epics even exist, you know? It's like for people to tell their own stories, Or like, even just to have a context of like, okay, what is the Han Dynasty? You know, like it's an easier way to remember it in a story and stuff.
Well, and it is, I should say, it is apt to put this as like maybe not like a propaganda movie, because John Woo does do really well at like not like propagandizing like the Chinese nation at the time, but it is showing like this Chinese nationalism to like come together and work against something.
And
like,
you did say like China was very invested in him making this movie.
They were.
No, and that's where that's maybe another thing I didn't mention in the beginning, where the movie doesn't hold up as some of the other John Woo's movies, where it's like he has a lot of moral grayness in some of his other movies. You know, where like A Better Tomorrow's ending is like it's happy in one way, but another way it's like I just watched like this cop like go insane, like to shoot this guy and stuff, and like and then Chong Yun-Fat it's just like they're a lot darker. You know, this one's just like way more like from the beginning you know who's gonna win. Like
it's history.
Yeah. No, but even if it's history, you can. just the tone
It can
though.
be
The
more
tone you
gray.
show, yeah, or even the tone you take towards it is like.
Yeah, I do think John Woo's done like you said, he's done this moral gray area very well, and he did say that he wanted to do that in this movie, and he thought he did it well, and I don't really think he does it that well in this movie. Of because I know that I think it's Tony Leung's character later on that says there's no winners in this battle basically
At the very end.
Of part two, but at the end of the day, it's nothing really that terrible happened to the good guys in this movie.
No, that's what I'm saying. Literally,
they lost a couple generals, but...
And that's what I was going to say for part two, but I was saying now. I was that's why I don't like part two a little less. It's part one has at least a little more intrigue. I'm still trying to figure out what's going on. It's kind of exciting.
Yeah.
Part two is, literally straightforward, yeah, they're gonna win. Especially the second half of the movie, we're just watching them gonna, and it's not even close. Really,
no, it's a route.
Yeah,
it was a route. It was.
But the whole movie's a route. Does Cal even have he kind of has a minor victory at the beginning of part two? But
yeah, so that was the battle we just talked about. Basically, the retreat of Lee.
Yeah.
That was his only victory we see. In this movie,
this one, part one. No, at the beginning of part two, where he's he kind of predicts what Tony Leung's gonna do. I thought he's gonna maybe win a little battle, but
nope.
Not really. Not really.
Not at all.
No. That's why, I wonder why John Woo thought that, though, because...
Yeah. Well, I think it's because... I think mostly he's probably thinking of it because Tony Leung's wife went to Cao Cao's, main ship.
Yeah.
And then, it was, set
that
on fire.
sacrifice.
Sacrifice. So, then, in terms of that, I can see it. And there was a lot of people that fucking died in this battle, And so, in terms of that, also...
But you don't get that feel, though, from the movie itself,
Yeah, we don't really see a lot of our heroes die. So we see two of them die,
or not even sad about them dying after. It's one moment.
Although the charge at the castle or at Cao Cao's main camp at the very end, whenever they're literally having to push the palisades and all that shit, there's a lot of people that die in that moment also. True. And I'm starting to talk myself.
No worries, Mr. Wu, I agree with you.
I agree with you.
But we're still
still
part one.
Though, so I don't remember what we were just talking about because it's been a while. But Zhuge Liang is going to Red Cliff because that's basically where I think it's Lu Su is the advisor for him, not the advisor for him, but he's one of the generals of Wu that's helping him out while he's here. And he says that he basically needs to go to Red Cliff to talk to Zhao Yu and Tony Leung, Tony Leung and Zhao Yu. So, but. His introduction is honestly great. It's one of my favorite parts of part one because it's just Zhao Yu training his army, and then Zhuge Liang coming and kind of criticizing it by doing this it's the goose formation.
No, dude, I love. I even put my notes. My favorite scene in the movie because
good.
Yeah, when he's doing when he has the little the wing and then literally the wing. The army's doing the formation right behind the wing. It's an insane shot.
It's an amazing.
That's what I was saying. You could tell they use real people for that because
yes,
yeah, just the coordination.
Yeah, exactly.
It's amazing. This is one of my favorite moments in this movie because after he says that, the goose formation, he's it is a little outdated though.
Yeah,
the toy look you got first look at it. It's his eyes.
Yeah,
he's eyes. So good.
And he brings it up. He brings it up later.
Yeah, he does. But it also leads to a great moment of the flute. The flute scene's really great in my opinion in this scene because it's kind of showing, at least in my opinion, what Tony Leung or Zhao Yu is feeling at this moment. This is what he has to lose. Because we hear the flute playing, he fixes it a little bit and then tells the child to play again. And then we get that great shot of him just going over China basically, and it's just, imposing Tony Leung's face on it.
Yes, yeah.
But to me, it's him thinking of everything he has to lose if they lose this battle, basically. Because he knows that Cao Cao's on his way. It's not really any real surprise that Cao Cao's on his way to them. It's just he's on his way because he's saying that they're rebels of the emperor, and it's not really true. But so yeah, we get all that, and then they talk afterwards, and it's it's whenever Zhao Yu says the goose formation outdated, huh? And he's what do you think about that, Ganjing? And he's no, I think he says even if it's outdated, if you perform it well enough, nothing can beat it or something like that.
Yeah, it's the power formations come from the heart. There's no such thing as outdated.
Yes, that's another John Woo thing.
True.
That's another John Woo thing for sure. But the next thing, big moment that happens is kind of building up the character of Zhao Yu because we get. That grandpa and child that was playing the flute were there because someone stole their water buffalo. And it's kind of just showing that Zhao Yu is not going to sacrifice his men if it's their first offense, basically. Like, if they've never done this before, he's not going to, like, your sentence is beheading, because, like, that's what the sentence calls for if you steal something. Yeah. And if they caught who it was, that would have had to happen, because that's the law. And he's a general, he can't disobey it. So that's why, like, makes them run around the trees, because he knows who did it. Because, like, whoever did it, their feet, their, like, shoes will still be muddy. Yeah. And then they cuts to the three guys with their, like, with mud on their boots. But that's why he, like, makes him run around.
I didn't even realize that's exactly what he was doing. Like,
because that's why it makes him, like, run around. Yeah. And then he basically just apologizes and all them bow to the peasants. Which, I mean, it's just building up characters in this moment, and I like it a lot. But after that scene, we have the birthing of a horse, which was the most random scene of this fucking movie.
Yeah, one of the worst scenes.
I don't know if I call it worse. It's just like really random. Like, I don't know why it's weird, but
in a worse way. Like, it's like, why is this in here? Like,
I think it's in here to like build the Tony Leung story.
No, I think it's already here just for that last scene of the movie.
Okay, I guess
or that little quote. Yeah, but it's terrible. Like, they're like, oh, don't make him a war horse. Like, that callback, just like in that scene.
Yes. It's kind of crazy.
They spend a lot of time on it, too.
They spend a lot of time on that scene. It's, like, very, very weird, honestly. But, I mean, this is where we're introduced to Zhao Yu's
I think it's supposed to show,
so.
like, Tony Leung and him are going to be friends. Like,
yes.
Liang are going to be friends. But, I mean, it's like...
No, yeah, and it does introduce Zhao Yu's wife, or, like, Tony Leung's wife, so... I mean, just an introduction, but...
Yeah, I guess.
But, after that, we get another one of probably the best scenes in the movie was Zhuge Liang and Tony Leung playing the Chen together. And it's just like, there's some great quotes in this, because it's like, I think, well, I actually didn't write it down, which kind of sucks, but at one point it's like Tony Leung saying, I'll know if we can work together, like, once I listen to your music. And so, like, that's the reason they're kind of playing, is to see if they can work together.
Damn.
I think this is the first freeze frame in the movie, too. I don't remember a freeze frame before this, at the very least.
I think it might be.
But, like, he does freeze frame on Zhuge Liang for a second before they start playing. There's not a lot of freeze frames in this movie, which kind of sucks. Because he goes more for, like, this, I wanted to say it's, like, kind of like Wong Kar-wai, because it's just a lot of, like, the slow, kind of, like, slowish cut-ups of movements in the battles. Which is kind of disappointing for me, because I love the freeze frames, but...
No, I just...
Because it felt like that replaced the freeze frames in this movie, but... yes, like, after all this amazing, like, Chen playing, they're talking afterwards, and Zhuge Liang, like, says he's basically succeeded, and he says, music told me he will fight.
yeah. The wife says the same thing. I think. Like, his answers within his music, he's gonna fight. Like,
yeah, that's actually the next quote I have. Zhao Yu talking to his wife. He was like, his music told me that he needed friends, and then she's like, your music tells me that you need to fight this war.
I kind of like those. Like, that's definitely the more romanticized aspects.
Yes.
You know, like,
yes.
I don't know. It's got a weird mix of like romanticization, and then like some more like just historical details, and like, I don't know, like Hollywood action at the same time.
Yes,
but like,
just like Hollywood big budget action.
Yeah. And then the CG as well.
But then my least favorite part of the movie comes next, because it's like our introduction to like Cao Cao's obsession with this, with like basically what this entire war's fought over, a girl in this painting. Great painting, I'm not gonna lie, it's a great painting for sure. But it's definitely implied that this entire war is started because of this woman, basically. Yes. And, I mean, we see in part 2 it's kind of true, although he tries to deny it, obviously. But at a certain point, it is kind of a John Woo thing, in terms of, like, the bad guy is fighting to try to get to, like, this life that he kind of wants. Like, he sees Zhao Yu with his wife, and he's like, that's the life I really actually want, is, like, a family life like that, kind of. Yeah.
I'm also curious if like past motivations for starting wars, like what, like how stupid have they been? Like, is this really?
This is definitely happened before.
Like,
wars being fought over women. Like, it's not.
I find that interesting though too. Like,
I say it's bad because I don't want to believe this is what happened, but I mean it could. Like, I also don't think it's how it's portrayed in the book. It's Cao Cao starting a war over a woman. I don't think that's how it's portrayed. but it might be. I don't know.
I find it interesting.
Like that far yet.
Like basically just like a piece of art makes you want to.
No, exactly.
It's like,
no, I was gonna even say like maybe someone was saying the power of the visual image.
Yeah, maybe
a painting. The power.
Wow, Blake hates that apparently.
It just there are maybe some ideas you could take. They're like not fleshed out really.
No,
if it's there, like,
I can see that.
Yeah.
No, definitely.
Yeah, he definitely tried, but I don't know. It
just seems
not great. Although her like the tea ceremony at the end of the movie is kind of good. I do kind of like that scene, but
like when
whenever she's like overpouring it, overpouring the tea and has like quote, but after this we get more of like Sun Xuan and Wu, and this is one of the great like eye shots of the movie because like there are a lot of like John Woo moments in this movie in terms of like John Woo shots, as I was talking about like I think last week on the Hollywood episode. Because John Woo would always say like it's time for a John Woo shot. That's kind of like what I think of these.
He would always say that on set.
Yeah.
Damn.
I think I said like
amazing.
I think I said because his English wasn't that great that he would just like distinguish shots by saying here's a Peckinpah shot, here's a Scorsese shot.
What does he mean by that? Though? Like,
well, a Peckinpah shot is like the slow mo. A Scorsese I think is a dolly shot, and then a John Woo shot is like this, like a close up on the eyes or a close up on the face.
Yes,
he was like that's not for a John Woo shot. Yeah. But I do love the shot of him like pulling his blade out just a little bit and the light reflecting into his eyes. But this is also our introduction to the princess, who does not play a huge part in this part of the movie, in this part one, but does play a massive part in part two.
I mean, does she? Does she like?
She has a lot of screen time.
The movie's trying to tell us. Yeah, she's trying to tell us. But does she? Does she?
But we figure out the reason he's like kneeling here at the shrine of his ancestors, or at like the funeral pyres of his ancestors, or whatever, like their ancestral hall, is because Cao Cao sent him a letter of surrender, and him and the princess are kind of talking about it before Zhao Yu walks in, and she hands him the notice to surrender from Cao Cao, and Zhao Yu doesn't even read it; he just like fucking rips it apart. Yeah. It's just so good. But after that, they go on their tiger hunt, and this is why I don't hate this movie at all, because like there are a lot of amazing moments in this movie. Like the tiger hunt's one of the best moments in this movie too. So
honestly, I just really like tigers in cinema. I don't know, like I feel like
also I like. There's one other, or actually two other movies I can think of people going to just face a tiger alone. Tropical Malady,
yeah.
Yes.
And
Circus?
Rossellini's Mother India.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say The Circus, but I guess he didn't mean to get.
No, he didn't mean to.
It was like an
in those two
accident.
movies, they actually literally go out to like face a tiger, kind of like to face their demons almost. Yeah. I mean, those movies are both way better than this one. I'm not gonna lie.
I mean, Tropical Malady is way better.
Yeah, I mean, you'll like.
I haven't seen Mother India.
Yeah, it's like unfair. It's like unfair.
Yeah.
Like
they're different types.
They're like so different.
But I think they're actually going for similar kind of like.
Facing your demons,
yes,
for sure.
Be a tiger alone in a forest. Like Tony Leung even like says like don't go save him, like he has to himself kind of thing. Yeah.
No, my notes for this hunt, like I just said, the hunt begins, and my first note is basically just full of John Woo shots, because like it's just a bunch of shots, and like the John Woo shots I'm talking about are the shots of the tiger, obviously. Yes. No, but the shots of the tiger and like the close-ups of the faces, obviously, but. There's a lot of great quotes, like Tony Leung saying, "He is cunning. Do you see him?" And then Sun Xuan said, he says, "This beast is watching us." And then, is he not like Cao Cao? And it's kind of just trying to portray this like Cao Cao is this tiger that's cunning. Obviously, it's like it's not. Like,
I feel like they didn't have to say it. We still would have got that. Like
exactly. The message. You could have just shown the like tiger at the end with like. Cao Cao's face and then the like tiger appearing over it, and now we would have got
well, especially the scene. Well, the cut is really what sends the metaphor. Is like I think it ends with him like letting go of the arrow to shoot the tiger, and then it cuts to him like agreeing to go to war, basically.
Yes,
like
with the sword. Like it's cut to the sword cutting the table. Like it's so.
Yeah,
good.
that's what it was. Yeah.
But yeah, that's the sequence.
That's basically all you would need.
Yeah, it's because they're. I don't know. I do like some of the quotes in that, like go, don't hesitate anymore. Like there are some good moments like that, but it definitely would have probably played better if he
like
had
from a visual
talking,
perspective.
So. But yeah, like they do return. They are going to war.
Surprising,
Surprising, very surprising. But Tony Leung, after this, tells his wife, or it's just Tony Leung and his wife, and she's in this scene. If you see him multiple times, you know that she's telling him she's pregnant. Did you get that from the scene, Luke?
Wait, okay, I did not know that.
Okay. So
I remember,
she-
yes, maybe not the first time.
No,
I know
yeah.
she's pregnant. I forgot when I learned that.
No, yeah, because this is the scene where she hints that she's pregnant, but if you haven't seen it before, it'd be very easy to miss it. Like, I don't think I realized she was pregnant this first time either. And he doesn't either, because he's super clueless, because they just go straight have sex after this. But,
Is this when it's like raining too? Like in the background? Is this
I
the?
don't know if this is the raining one. It might be.
Because
There's a couple of intimate scenes between
Yeah,
them.
no, because okay, one of the scenes where it's like raining, there's like it looks very similar to a shot from Floating Weeds, Ozu.
It's
like
been a while since
so
I've seen
different
Floating
movies,
Weeds, so
but it's just
been a long time since I've seen Floating Weeds too.
You should
For a while.
watch it again.
I need to
It's-
rewatch it.
I need to watch it.
But it's like there's a very similar shot with the rain coming down the background, like with like in the door frame. Or
I don't know why I haven't watched Floating Weeds. I just remember not liking the setting as
it's
much.
so-
Like
it's so
I like Ozu's modern
the beachside setting?
dude,
Floating Weeds.
it's honestly might be his best looking. It's one of his best.
Whoa,
looking.
okay,
It's one of
okay, yeah,
them.
you changed that fast.
It's one of them. It's one of them.
Okay, that's
It's up. It might be one. It might be one.
No, it's not one.
Dude, it's amazing. Anyway.
Anyway, yeah, we can continue, because after that moment, it's Zhuge Liang and Zhao Yu going back to Liu Bei's army. And it's Zhao Yu's introduction to the people that are going to be his allies, basically. Like, we see Zhao Zilong training with all of his men in like the middle of the town, basically, whenever they walk in. And then it goes to Guan Yu teaching class, which is my favorite part of this like little scene, because he's like, one of the kids asks, "What good is reading a book if you have no food?" And he's like, "When you grow up, you will find out that reading now will give you food later."
Yeah.
Which is, I don't know.
See, that feels like some kind of Chinese propaganda stuff a little bit. Like,
a little bit.
But not in a bad way. Just like, just like moral message kind of social
yeah.
message movies.
I mean, that's how children's classes are probably taught.
Yeah.
Also, so, I mean, and then we see like.
Plus, I think you were saying how this general was known as like protecting peasants and stuff, right? So
yes.
he's teaching them to read. That kind of makes sense.
Yeah. No, yeah, one of his journals is. And then we see like Zhang Fei practicing calligraphy. But then we get like Liu Bei making sandals. And this was actually something that this is true to history, is like he was a sandal maker before he actually became a general, because his family was distant relatives of the Han dynasty. So like he had direct lineage to the emperor that Cao Cao is in control of now. It's just they were so far removed that their name literally didn't matter anymore. So him and his family were so poor that he learned to make sandals and had to make sandals for a living before he became a general later on. Mm-hmm. So that's just something in his backstory. It's kind of like a Jesus thing also. I don't know.
The sandals? Or?
No, just like being like this poor kind of like peasant before becoming like this great man almost.
Okay.
And like that basically that teaching you what righteousness is almost.
Okay.
Like you almost have to have that, because I mean you don't have to, like there are obviously like rich people. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe you do have to.
He has like a humble background kind of.
No, yeah. So that's one reason why he always stands up for the peasants. But yeah, like after this, we have just some infighting between the groups before Zhao Yu like goes up to like the straws that Liu Bei has for the sandals that he's making. He says, "They really are strong. I'm surprised that such weak strands of grass can become so strong after you weave them together." And then he basically says the same thing about like if we become like these straws, and he grabs a bundle and he's like, "We can't be unbroken." He just like folds it. So.
Kind of corny, but
It's good though. It's good though.
But it works.
It does work. It does work because they're off to battle, or they're off to like go back to Wu now, I think, or they're actually off to battle because this is like the princess. I'm putting Lu Su's horse to sleep.
Funny, yeah.
That one was really good, honestly, because
So
she does the same thing later to Liu Bei, and it's hilarious. That seems even better, but yeah, that's just a quick scene that I always think is hilarious. But then there is a lot of these moments in the movie also where it's like these ritual performances before something, and this is one. I think there's only two in this movie, but this is the first one we get where it's a scene of like women dancing for Cao Cao at night. It's not like really a ritual. The one later on is the ritual. This is just like a scene of like women dancing for him, and he sees one that looks like the painting, and it's just like more of his obsession. But it's just this scene's in here for the Wu messenger to come back and deliver the reply to his surrender, and it's just blank. So we know obviously war's happening, but then the war council is being held on both sides for the battle tomorrow. This is where like there's just more crying, like cross cutting. It kind of gets a little bit annoying, But we basically know, Wu knows Cao Cao's main target is Redcliffe. Cao Cao says that, but he says this is just a diversion for the cavalry to attack on land. It's one of the worst parts of the movie, just because this entire moment is just exposition note for both sides.
And the way it's cut, it's kind of confusing because it's like I get what he's trying to do is where like Tony Leung is like predicting what Cao Cao is saying, basically trying to show us a superior, like how he's like one step ahead, kind of. Yeah, just very confusing though, like the way it's a lot of exposition.
Yes.
Or like to say it's not that much information, honestly. Like,
it's not.
Like basically, Tony Leung knows what he's gonna do. Like
yes, it's like there's not much you can do. Like it's a river to a cliffside town. Like there's only really one thing you can do, or two things you can do, and he knows what he wants to. But to John Woo's credit, after this exposition dump, it does cut directly to like when the battle is basically about to start, because it's the ambush
and everything.
Yeah, it's like the ambush after this. I think it's the princess comes in ambushes with her like lady guards, and then they run off and lead them into the trap that both of the armies are planning with like those giant dust clouds. Like they have their horses riding with those things behind them to like make the dust billow up. And then they this is where they're like the hook and spear tactic, like all these just like cool tactics come to play, because I think there was a scene earlier where they were talking about like a tortoise.
It's called, I think, Bagua. I forgot what the Chinese name was, Bagua or something.
Bagua.
Turtle formation.
Yeah, the turtle formation, because there's a scene of like, I love the shots of the turtle in this movie, because it's like the turtle's just set on the road, and the Wei cavalry is like running up, or like Cao Cao's army is like running up, and they're like, oh, there's nothing between here and Redcliffe besides this little turtle. And then they get led into the turtle formation. But it's a lot, very CGI heavy in this for the big shots in terms of like just showing the formation in totality.
Yes.
Would I have loved to see something like what I think it's like Waterloo, where it's like 33,000 extras or whatever? Because I've seen Waterloo.
Is that Bondarchuk?
I don't know if is it. I can't remember.
Sergei Bondarchuk. I think that's the one where they let him use the Russian or the Soviet Union.
Well, no, I think because I remember also I think his War and Peace movie, like the Russian government just gave him a blank check, and apparently like the scale is like.
I still need to watch War and Peace.
Literally,
because it is a little jarring. Like I don't mind it, because I like.
It looks.
My favorite CG shots are actually the ones where there's some strategy involved. Like okay, we're seeing a turtle formation, or like later on when we see like their little shield thing they do in part 2 and stuff like that. But but it is a little jarring seeing going from like these wide CG, like obviously CG, not in a bad way, but then cutting to like a real person all of a sudden, then going back and forth like that a lot.
Yeah,
it's like,
it is a little jarring. It's one of the things that takes us down just a notch, honestly, for John Woo's usual action.
Because like some of my favorite parts about John Woo is when he does like cut to close-ups in the middle of an action, but you can tell it's like a real gun still, or like some real thing in the room, or whatever. Like,
oh yeah.
Like he's very practical for like even his explosions are real.
Like revolving around like the geometry, like geography of the sets too.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's kind of weird. It's just like, but he's good at using it. Like
like
just weird,
like in terms of like, I know I've been talking about like him orientating you to the action in like his movies. I still think this does a really good job at that, because you don't like really lose focus ever of who you're watching. It's just like a lot of cutting between big set piece CGI things, and then more like close and not intimate is maybe the wrong word, but more intimate at the very least. Like you're seeing two to three heroes on screen, or just one versus like 100. Like we see
like these
a
big
lot.
CG, and then all of a sudden you'll see like a hero fight, like that would be in a more like a more kung fu movie or something, where like they're just fighting soldiers.
Just it's like this is your turn. Get in there, buddy.
Exactly.
But I mean, we have like a lot of tactics that get played in this, because this is starting to become the end of the movie. Like this is the last battle of the movie. Like we have the hook and spear tactic, which is like where they just put the hooks and shit between there and like pull them down, and then people like spear them. Yeah, fucking good. We do have a lot of like 1v100s, like I was saying. There's a lot of cool shit. Like I know like one of my favorites is Guan Yu like jumping on top of the shield, or is that might be in part 2 actually.
Honestly,
him jumping on top of the shields, that might be in part 2.
Yeah, a lot of it just like blends together.
It kind of doesn't.
That's why the ending of this one, the ending of the second one, kind of like in my head, kind of blend together. But
they do. But yeah,
because like this one also has like where you see the guy with the beard, the assistant general, or the general from Libier's army.
Yeah,
like he just goes crazy,
and knocks over like 2 horses.
Yeah, no, it's just like
it's fucking insane. But I mean, we do have like the news scene, like Luke was talking about earlier, like the ropes, just like throwing the ropes and dragging everyone off the horses, which is really good.
Yes, they're like bringing them to like past their lines too. Like,
Yeah, because the rope was to the counter to something they were doing.
Yeah, because they started like stabbing them through the shields, like because they were on horseback.
Yeah, they weren't like cornering them or like circling them.
Yeah,
yeah, and then like just pulled them under.
No, but see, that's kind of interesting. Like I was like. To like watch a more, it would be interesting to watch a more realistic movie where like they focus more on just like these kind of like these battle mechanics during a huge battle like that, you know, like because I never really thought about that. Like yeah, okay, so these people are running like and they're like all of a sudden they're cutting the feet, so then we have to think of some strategy like with the ropes and
the
stuff.
horses,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Like I like that a lot of that stuff in the movie, but it's like you know it's not that much of it.
No, yeah, it's very.
It's interesting to think about. Yeah.
No, yeah, and the thing that I always think about in this scene is like just imagine like you're on the cavalry and then like a noose gets thrown around you, you get dragged back and you just get stabbed to death. Like oh my god, that's what a terrible way to die. Like
or just like there's a lot of moments like where I'm thinking like oh it would just have to be that guy like you're in the shield and then the spear of course comes and stabs you.
Exactly.
It's like all random. Or like getting shot by a random arrow, you know, like you see the arrows coming down on you, and you're the guy that gets hit. Like so many different ways to die during these battles.
I mean, that's kind of what Kubrick was like making fun of.
Yes,
very
no,
end,
exactly.
Like, how stupid really like a lot of this like.
Yeah. That's the thing. John was never gonna like, especially in this type of movie. He's not gonna say it's stupid. You know, it is more of like a sincere movie. But
yeah. But yes, like after all this, like there's a lot of cool shit. It's just
Tony
hard to
Long
talk about because it's just Tony
you know
Long
he has to get in there. You know he's the most important leader, but of course he's gonna risk his life.
He's a brave man.
Yeah, he's a brave.
He's a great.
He doesn't have anything to be worried about. He's got movie logic on his side.
He's got history on his side. So.
And history, all right.
In reality, he probably never fought, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. No, you would never let your general like fight like this. That would be insane.
Get in there, guy.
Get in there.
But like, I have to get in there. Like,
this is for the morale of our troops. No, but I mean the action is still great in those 1v like 30 moments. Like there's still John Woo behind that. It's still amazing, but they are victorious, obviously. So they return to Redcliffe victorious, but they return to see the sheer force of Cao Cao's numbers because. His plan, it's like this whole thing of like in that like exposition dump, Cao Cao's like, we're gonna attack by cavalry, but that's really just a diversion for me to go back to Redcliffe, and that's really Cao Cao's whole plan. Was just get to Redcliffe, and then they see just what they're up against.
Because they even say something like, Cao Cao used 2,000 troops to learn us. Now we must learn to. We have to wait to learn him or something like that. Like as they're seeing all his armies and stuff like that.
Yeah, because technically they're right because that battle Cao Cao learned a lot about them. Yes, exactly. But they learned absolutely nothing about him. So, but then we get we're getting just more like kind of intimate scenes between Zhao Yun and his wife with like the bandaging of the arrow wound. I do kind of like it because he says you wrap me up like a rice ball at the very end. But
this is where I'm like, okay, let's get to part 2. Let's get out of here. Come on, we can do this wife shit at the end. The second one. Like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it. Honestly, that it should have probably just ended with the battle, but
honestly, or end with I like ending with the soccer game or this
or the
Cuju
game,
the Cuju game at the very end. I actually like that ending where he's like, it would be no fun if only one side won in Cuju or something like that.
Yeah, we can get to that. We can actually get to that if we want to now. Well, I mean we'll talk a little bit because. Like, we do have, like, the victory party or whatever between the Shu and Wu forces. Yeah. And this is whenever Liu Bei gets put to sleep by the princess because Sun Quan, like, offered her to him. Which they actually do get married later on in history also. But I think... I know they get married later on in history, but I think that Liu Bei ends up sending her away because they don't like each other very much. But
send her away. I guess that's some like weird,
it's like
time
period. Yeah, it's the time period. Like they can't divorce their husbands in that time period. Like Jesus Christ, he was the emperor. He was the emperor of Shu at one point. But no. After this, we get like the doves. Obviously, we have like the doves, and we get a short scene between Zhuge Liang and the princess of them discussing kind of their plans. We find out like she's obviously going to be a spy sent over there. Like she's going to spy on their army, and they're going to be using these doves as communication. But We do get a quick ending before the actual ending of like Zhao Yu and Zhuge Liang talking about their entertaining night last night, and I think it's Zhao Yu or Zhuge Liang says last night's celebration made me realize that we may become enemies tomorrow, and then Zhao Yu said, or no, that was Zhao Yu that said that, and then Zhuge Liang says if that day ever comes, it will be each man. Oh no, I have it right the first time. No, Zhao Yu says if that day ever comes, it will be each man for himself. And Zhuge Liang says, I cannot stand the thought of a standoff with you. I hope it will never happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then it just ends with them looking over Cao Cao's army and goes to the dove following, or like
I like the
flying
shot
over all
actually
of
a
it.
lot.
It's so good.
When it follows the dove, like it goes like a minute.
It
like,
goes for a while, yeah.
Like across all the armies.
It's following the entire army.
Yeah,
it's
exactly.
like
It's a good way
it's
to
obviously
show it.
all CGI, but I mean
I liked
it
it.
looks good. So, but yeah, like it ends with the Kuju game between Cao Cao's army, and Cao Cao just says, "That is what I call interesting," and then it ends the movie basically with that. So that's the end of Redcliffe. We can take a quick break, and we'll be right back with Redcliffe Part 2. So. And we're back from the break with Redcliffe Part 2. So I guess we can just basically get right into it, but before, I do guess want to hear just like quick thoughts on Part 2. Just like, what do you think worked best? What do you think worked worst? Because it is it continues directly after Part 1, so it really does feel like it's just the same movie at the end of the day, but what do you think worked and what do you think didn't?
I mean, I guess it's kind of just similar to my thoughts. I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, like
A lot of the same.
Yeah, it kind of is too much. I don't know, but like
it goes definitely very heavy on the action.
yeah,
for sure,
very.
this
Which
one.
is obviously, probably definitely why I don't like it as much as the first. I mean, it has some cool moments too. I'm not gonna deny that.
Definitely.
But yeah, it was basically the same as like as I did.
like yeah. If anything, it's a little worse. Like if we do have to split the movies up into two,
Probably.
like if this is one movie, which it is basically,
Yeah.
this is the worst half of the movie for me. You know, like, and I kind of said that.
Honestly,
like,
I'm curious what you think.
yeah, but
Which one do you like better? Like,
Yeah.
which side do you?
I don't know. To me, I don't really even think of them in two parts, honestly, because it's just one movie.
yeah,
like,
yeah.
that's how I always have thought.
Even though,
about
so
it.
you set us up then. That's fine.
Yeah,
You
yeah.
set us up.
Whoa.
You're trying to get us to
Yeah,
talk
yeah,
about
yeah,
like two
yeah.
movies,
Exactly.
and then you're like, it's not two movies. But
It's
Actually,
you guys are
guys,
wrong. You guys are wrong. no, but I know there's some parts in here. It's but basically like the first one, yeah. It's
No,
like,
I
maybe
think
because there's some
they're-
parts I like with some of the battles. Like I mentioned the first one. Like I love the arrow scene,
Oh yes.
but
No, I do
Yeah.
think the emotions hit harder in the first part, which is why I probably would prefer. It probably is my preferred part of this movie is the first half. Although I do still love like this conclusion because I do love like a lot of the action set pieces. Like there's a shit ton of explosions in the second half that are like completely legit, which are actually insane. Like stunts, it feels like. Like we'll get to them, but I kind of just like this ending. Also, I don't know. Like it's a good ending to like this story or like the Red Cliff, like the Battle of Red Cliff, basically. Like John Woo definitely did his own way, and definitely strayed probably from history. But I still kind of like it. I still really like it. At the end of the day.
I mean, all movies are going to stray from history, so
there's no way they can't.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
it wouldn't be movies otherwise.
yeah, exactly.
No, but yeah, we can just go ahead and start right in on it. So I love how John Woo gives us the recap of the first movie, just an opening credits, just completely get that shit out of the way. Like we know what we're getting into. Like, yeah, I just kind of like it. But then it just opens directly where we left off, right at the Kuju game. And this is where we see like the princess from the first half. She has infiltrated Cao Cao's camp and is now a spy. And she's witnessing a lot of things while in this camp. Obviously, we'll get to them as we go. But like the first thing immediately that we witness and that immediately plays a huge part in this movie is the typhoid disease that is running kind of rampant through Cao Cao's army right now. She sees that, and like we see that this is where the dubs obviously come in. Another John Woo thing where she uses the dubs to send all these messages back to Zhuge Liang. And then we just get like a scene of her watching Kuju, which is honestly like I kind of love. I like watching this game. You know, if I was just in the army, that'd be a fun game to watch. But like we see, like this is Cao Cao's way of like promoting people in his army, basically. Like because the man that she befriends in this camp, I don't remember his name. I think I have it written down here somewhere. But he basically is like really dumb, but he gets promoted to like battalion commander because he's so good at Kuju. And then they talk a little bit afterwards, obviously, of her helping him out a little bit, but it's just a lot more cross-cutting. This one has definitely more I don't want to say more cross-cutting because the first one was full of it too, but this one definitely, I feel it a lot more because the transitions are kind of just harsher. Mm-hmm. It's not like gracefully transitioned like most of John Woo's movies we watch. Mm-hmm. It's just like this like slash down the screen, which is really annoying. Yeah. But yeah, it's just more cross-cutting between the two. Like as we're watching this Kuju game and stuff like that, like we see the allies making plans for their upcoming battle, and as well as like arrow pot game or whatever they were playing. I don't know, it's kind of fun, but we see like one thing after the Kuju game ends. One thing that like Cao Cao really did to get people on his side and get them to fight hard for him was saying that their families would be tax exempt for like 3 years after they won this war. That is something that people would obviously do in the army back then to get them to fight harder for you, or to even just like get people to join into your army, is to like give your family tax exemptions, and then they also give you like free meals because you're working for them. Like that's something that he also says. Like it's kind of good character building for his character, or at least showing like both sides of this war as like this guy doesn't like want to be in the army because he loves war and he wants to like actually kill these people. He's just here because he needs food.
Yeah, his
like,
family can't feed him.
Yeah, it's like a really interesting thing that obviously that's what the American army is very good at. Like they set up like recruiters set up all over the place and like really run down like poor areas to try to get kids to like join the military. Like that's one of their go-to strategies.
Yeah,
I mean,
that's throughout history. It's like,
literally
that's why a lot of
history.
people join wars, right?
Yeah, it's just it's kind of sad, but it is just trying to show us like there are two sides to this war. So
maybe like you pointing that out in this movie almost makes me like it a little less because the fact that it's there, because it's hinted at, but then it's not like it's kind of seen as a joke. Like this guy at the end of the day, you know, like even their whole storyline. That's why it's like if it would have taken her storyline seriously, like if her information was actually vital to like what they were doing and stuff, it would make a little more sense. But it's like, to me, I think this is like more like the comedic part, like of the movie. You know, she's supposed to be
more
like
the
light-hearted comedic element, like in between all the serious stuff. But like you said, there's even serious stuff with these guys. If you wanted to take it there, but not really. Like
it's not.
He mentions that, but it doesn't really go there after that. Like,
yeah, it's not focused on. I mean, yeah, his character's not like developed really. He's just like there.
Or even that idea of like these soldiers are just people there for food or anything. You know, like they do celebrate the tax exemption, but like other than that, it's like.
Yeah, because like we see like that moment between them, but we don't like really see a moment of that between like the Wu like soldiers. You know, like we don't know why they're fighting. I mean, I guess they're fighting just because they're protecting their homeland. So I guess that's good. That's a good reason as you need, but at least back then. But.
Yeah, I mean, we can't like at the end of the day, these are like stories, you know.
Exactly.
Like, they don't care too much about like what the individual soldiers think. Like,
They're just pawns on a chessboard.
yeah, literally. Yeah.
But the next thing that we obviously see is more of the typhoid running rampant and Cao Cao's plan to send the dead corpses across the river to Wu. And this is like really kind of just it's not only like dirty, it's also just like morally kind of really wrong to just send like dead people that you knew died of this incurable disease at the time.
I mean, it feels like an ancient way of like
in psychological warfare.
Not like literally like using poison gas or something. Like what's that called? Like literally something like that. Yeah. Well, yeah. Like crossing lines, even in war. You know, like you're saying. Like,
yeah, there's like rules to war.
Whatever the Chinese Geneva Conventions were back in the day.
Chinese Geneva Conventions. I mean, this would definitely be over the line for sure.
Yeah, that's what I see what you're saying. Yeah, exactly. Like,
but yeah, it's like it's kind of just really sad at the end of the day because like these soldiers died for him and he just sent them off to like to still be of service to him basically even after death instead of giving them the send off that they're supposed to have, which we see like the King of Wu should do. So.
It's supposed to see like he's the cruel one, obviously.
Yeah, that's I mean he's the villain of the story, obviously. Like
because then it is kind of forced because it's really there to sell like Tony Leung as another heroic moment. And it's like we're still gonna give him a funeral. Like he's like. I'm a great guy. I'm a great guy.
I mean, it's a great scene, honestly. I love the scene.
Visually, it is great. Like, when the boats do... It is creepy when the boats, like, all those bodies are on the boats, like, just arriving and stuff.
Yeah, no, it's a great scene whenever the bodies arrive and they pull them on and everything. But, like, Zhuge Liang, obviously, since he's been talking with the princess over in the Sasa camp, he knows, like, these bodies are probably, like, filled with typhoid, basically, and so he uses that pen, sticks it in, and he sees like the black blood, and basically quarantines the area immediately. But I do love, especially like the religious send off that we have afterwards. That's one of my favorite moments of this at least part because it's just really well shot.
Yes,
with Tony Leung and everyone like just being lit up by the fire and everything, and I'm pretty sure they send off lanterns and everything also, which is just like.
It is really
anytime you send off lanterns in the sky like that, just you get me immediately. So.
Yes,
but it's literally what Cao Cao should have done. So,
what other? I'm trying to think of a movie with like a good lantern scene. Like,
well, the boy in the hand. It's like it's not lanterns, but it's like
I don't know, maybe not.
There are a lot of movies.
Like, why am I thinking?
I can't think of any right now.
Doesn't Kung Fu Panda have
Kung Fu Panda must have one.
Kung Fu Panda 2, maybe.
Kung Fu Panda does have one. It's whenever I think they all send lanterns off at some point.
That's what I
don't remember what or when, but
and I just saw these two. So.
Yeah, like what y'all do? Yeah, but no, the boy in the hair, like it's like they're not lanterns, but they're basically like floating lanterns. Like in that nice.
Either way, yes, it is very cinematic.
It is, and because it's like all done with Cao Cao like literally reciting a play to his
it's cross-cut again. Like all of this.
This is a really good cross-cutting moment, though. This is like one of the cross-cutting moments I actually really think is great in this.
He's
movie.
like giving a speech for their like funeral, basically.
Yeah, and it's just like showing like he's giving the speech for his like fallen soldiers, but like kind of or like it's more so just for his soldiers that are still alive though, like just to like lighten the mood or something. I mean I did write it down, but I'm not going to like read the whole thing because it was a long thing. But it was really well done.
Yeah, it is.
I liked it a lot. But after that, we see like the typhoid is obviously starting to hit the Wu and Shu army, and this is where Liu Bei decides it's time for him to like basically flee.
But not really.
Exactly, but not really. It's all part of the plan. It's all part of the plan.
Because like it is kind of surprising because it's like in the first part, and I did forget that he was going to come back, so I was kind of surprised.
Again.
Yeah, I was surprised. I mean, I shouldn't have been that shocked because, like, the fact that they set him up in part one as like this heroic guy, like I should have been like, all of a sudden he was like just ditching them. Where everyone's like, "You're a coward now." All of a sudden, and he's like, "Yeah, I have to protect myself." I should have known, but yeah, no, I fell for it again. I was like, man, this guy's kind of dick all of a sudden. He's like, I gotta protect
He is like such a dick. He's like just saying these quotes. Like this one I love. It's just like, it's just because it makes me laugh. He's like, I have seen over a decade of defeat. I cannot suffer another setback.
Yeah. He's like, you just joined this war. Exactly. Like, they just won the battle. Like,
it's like, you're the one that won this alliance.
I mean, to be fair, it's the typhoid that's really, he's like, that's his excuse.
Yeah, because he doesn't have that many men anyway, so if they all die of typhoid, then he's literally finished. So it's a very believable excuse for someone to actually flee. But as we know, as you know later on in the movie, like it was kind of just a ploy to get Cao Cao off guard. But I mean, they do leave amicably. Like obviously Tony Leung is like he knows what's going on. This is his plan at the end of the day. So
and most importantly, the other guy, Tony or Liang, decides to stay anyway.
Yeah, because
he's with Liu Bei initially, right?
Yeah, no, he's Liu Bei's main strategist.
Okay, yeah.
So
he decides. He's such a great friend. Like even. Instead of going with this general, he decided.
Actually, didn't he say something about that? Oh, he does. He says, a man must honor his promises. If I start something, I see it through to the end. And then Zhao Yu says, anyone who talks like that is insane. And then he says, then we are all insane. That's another classic John Woo line, honestly. But then after this, we get like Tony.
That is crazy that Tony Leung never even told Liang about this plan, though. Like, come on, that's crazy. Like. When were they forming this plan without him? Like
I don't know.
When was all this happening? Like we just saw this all part one.
I always assumed Liang knew. So.
Oh, okay. He could have. The way he acts here, like he doesn't know. But I don't know. Maybe all this is for show for all this.
No, it does. It could all be for show, but he does play it. He does play it very well, either way, I guess. But. We do get like some quick scenes of like Tony Leung doing his sword dance, like his sword play and shit like that. It's kind of cool. But like it's just
the wife saying like one of the dumbest lines ever. Like I wish
she starts playing the Art of War.
No, she's like, I wish I could invite him. I wish I could invite Cao Cao for tea, like forget this war or something. Like
that's so dumb. It's like, why did you say that?
I guess it kind of makes sense later, where like her thing where she makes tea for him and stuff.
No,
maybe that's why. But just like. Come on. We're too deep in now. In the war, like, it's not gonna happen.
The war's already here, babe. But after this, we're back at Cao Cao's camp, and the princess is drawing the entire map of Cao Cao's army and all the everything that's happening there. Because I think in this scene, we're seeing their soldiers are locking all the ships together so that they don't rock as much, because they're obviously not from the south where the sea is. They're from the north, where they don't have to worry about being on a ship all the time, so they're not used to it, so they get seasick easily. So that's the reason why all the ships are locked, which that's something that the Wu army did know, and that is something that played a part in them actually using the fire attack. So she wasn't entirely useless, at least in this, but
it's just the way they never talk about her. When they're setting their plans up or anything. So it's not like they're relying on her information.
It felt like it was just her and Zhuge Liang that were on it together.
Yeah.
Like they did.
But then her information, apparently, like you're saying, becomes vital.
Yeah.
Even though, they never really planned for her information at all. And the way they treat her is,
it's
comedic.
very comedic.
Yeah.
Because, even in this scene where it's, a normal movie where you get caught, a spy gets caught, it's, really, tense and hectic and shit. She gets caught and turns around, she's, just oh shit, she's oh shucks, and that's just her buddy.
with the army,
with the army right behind him. He's he's gonna follow me everywhere. Oh, this guy's so dumb.
I will admit though, the shot where she's standing on her shoulders, it kind of doesn't seem realistic. Where all of a sudden you see the huge army, but I like the shot itself of all the ships we do see and this huge.
Just showing the logistics of it, basically.
Yeah.
This entire basically floating city that emerged overnight.
Yeah, exactly.
It's insane.
That's why I'm it doesn't really make sense. Based on where we see her, all of a sudden she looks over and that makes no sense. She can see that much stuff right there. But
hey, it's good though.
It's right over the wall. All of a sudden there's all these huge armies that we don't know about. But I like the shot though.
It's a great shot. Yeah. Great shot. But after that we're back with the Wu army, and we're seeing the state of their army after Liu Bei left, and they're down 40,000 arrows because Liu Bei took them as he fled. And this is where the deal between Zhuge Liang and Zhao Yu takes place, and I think it's Zhao Yu says, I need 100,000 arrows, and Zhuge Liang says, if I don't get it, you can have my head.
Yeah.
And he says, you have 10 days.
He's I only need 3.
Exactly.
But this is another thing where it's if they were in on it together, why would you not just leave the arrows? Or at least tell Liang, so he's not freaking out. You're trying to get 100,000 arrows. This guy,
he's not freaking out anyway.
Yeah, 21 looks even more cruel, honestly, during these scenes.
He does.
He was about to let this guy die for 4,000 arrows he didn't have or something.
It's 400.
Or 400, yeah.
Such a small number. But in return for this promise, Liang says, like, you have to get the heads of the admirals that Cao Cao's relying on, because that's something that's been in the background of the Cao Cao, like, story arc, is his generals are actually kind of important. Like, his admirals are not from the north. They are southerners. And I think they even say that in the first part of the movie. Like, they say they're from the south, and they have fought Zhao Yu multiple times. At Red Cliff, specifically. Like, they have actually fought against him. And they're the only ones that really know anything about the South and about naval warfare. That's why what eventually happens to them is so funny. But so yeah, that's kind of important to, like, say. But
that's why I would say, like, it is important in the movie.
Yes.
But I don't know if the movie does a good job of making them important, if that makes sense. Like, they're kind of set to the backside until they have to become important, like right now, or like in these next few scenes.
I mean, literally in these next few scenes, because they don't really have that many moments.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
So,
like even part one, I barely remember them in part one, honestly.
I think they're just. I think they get introduced just a little bit as just like the admirals, and they have like a couple scenes with like the northern generals, where the northern generals are like, oh, we can't trust them or something.
Yes, yeah.
Because that's also like just playing seeds in your head, like, oh, they're.
See, that's another thing where I wish if I knew the history a little more, like this idea of, like, honestly, most countries have this, like, the North is different than the South, you know? I love, like, in Italian movies, you see that a lot, where it's like, all these Southerners are, like, way different, like, just like, but in every country it means a lot of different things, it can be a lot of things, so. Yeah,
it does, but this is, so directly after that deal that they strike, it cuts directly to 2 days later, where Zhuge Liang is just like, at this place with good, like, feng shui or something, I think he says. But he's literally done nothing to get, like, any arrows or anything like that. And Lu Su comes up and asks, like, you should be worried. Like, like, you have to get 100,000 arrows. How are you going to do it? But I do have in my notes that this scene is showing a prominent characteristic of Zhuge Liang's, like, actual character in the books. In terms of, like, he was thought of as, like, a sorcerer and a mystic. Back in the day, at least in the romanticized version. I'm not sure about the actual records, but he was thought of that mostly because he knew how to predict weather patterns, basically, and that's something that John Woo obviously says, or like his character even says in this. Like, he's not really mystifying him; it's just more so like him like kind of demystifying a mystic. By just saying it's someone that understands, like, weather patterns and how the man who can. Like,
but the way he does it is still a little mystical. Like,
it is a little bit.
What is it? He knows the fog is because the tortoise is sweating.
Yeah, the tortoise.
He's like, there's a fog coming, and that's how he gets the idea for the arrows.
Yeah, no, it's. I like these scenes with him being, like, a little bit more mystical and shit.
Yeah, honestly, yeah. What there's like that shot with the huge cloud like above him.
Yeah. And I know, like, there's a quote that he says, like, nature's secrets cannot be revealed, but. So what happens next is there's going to be a little bit of cross-cutting, I think, where it's cross-cutting Zhao Yu and Cao Cao's, or Cao Cao's, like, liaison or whatever, or Zhao Yu's, like, friend or whatever, who is working for Cao Cao. He comes to Zhao Yu to try to get him to, like, surrender to Cao Cao, essentially. And that's cut with Zhuge Liang getting the arrows. So we'll talk about the Zhao Yu one first, because that one's kind of like it's cross-cut, obviously, because they made this deal and it's coming to a head right now. But so we'll just talk about the Zhao Yu one first, because I think that's what starts off the cross-cutting is the Zhao Yu one. So his friend arrives at his place and they get drunk together. And whenever they get drunk, Zhao Yu basically says, "I'll practice my swordplay for you," basically. And so he takes out his sword and just starts, like, practicing with it.
Sword dancing, I guess.
Yeah, sword dancing.
That's his thing. We
saw that. Well, he is like I think even Cao Cao's men don't even consider him like a real general. They consider him like a musician.
Oh yeah.
So like, he's not known really as a general. He's known more as a musician.
Well, no, that's actually what the admirals say. That's not true. Where
they say don't believe that. Yeah. But yeah, like, as he's dancing, he purposefully drops a piece of paper out of his scabbard, and it lands. And his friend tries to reach for it, and as he's reaching for it, he just, like, stabs his sword down, like, grabs it, and he's, I don't remember the exact quote that he says, but he's just basically like, "Do you believe me?" But
Because there's something written on the paper, right? Like
Yeah, what we end up finding out what's written on the paper later on because they drink more after this little scene, and as like Zhao Yu falls asleep, his friend comes inside to his room and like reaches inside his robes where he put the note, draws it out and like reads it, and it's the forged note from the admirals saying that Cao Cao's head will be delivered to him in 10 days. So it's planning like, and it's done perfectly because like we've seen like Zhao Yu and his wife love calligraphy, so he's really good at like writing and like forging shit. So
they're just setting this guy up.
They're just setting these admirals up, and also he's setting up his friend also. So
when he has that break bump, he's like, I kind of feel bad for him, but not really. Like,
not really.
He's basically sending him to his death. He knows that. Like, he sends him back to Kako.
But yeah, like after that, I like how Zhao Yu like wakes up like drunkenly and says, "It's just another one of my tricks," and then he falls back asleep.
No, he says something like, "I'll trick you again and again." Too.
Yes, I'll trick you again and again. And then his friend's like, "Not this time." Like, he's so dumb.
Yeah, no, like, you know who Tony Leung is? Like, he's the lead.
What are you doing?
He's gonna trick you.
But so continuing on with the Zhao Yu storyline, since that is what we're on right now, the friend goes back to Cao Cao and delivers the note. And Cao Cao reads it. And this is at the time like it's cross-cutting with Zhuge Liang getting the 100,000 arrows from the admirals. And he reads the note. And it says that they're going to give them 100,000 arrows. And they're going to deliver Cao Cao's head in 10 days. So now we can go back for a little bit to Zhuge Liang. Because as this has been happening, Zhuge Liang has made this plan that during the fog he's going to sail out with a lot of boats of straw and just pretend that they're attacking Cao Cao's army, and it works really well. It's also really done really well.
It's done really well.
It's done amazingly.
Yes, like in the fog and stuff.
Yes, because like all that really happens is like they fire arrows one time and it lands really short, and the Cao Cao's army starts like laughing, and then they start like beating the war drums, and then like Cao Cao's army fires. Obviously,
it's gorgeous to watch.
It's amazing to watch. Because like Zhuge Liang and Lu Su are just like sitting in one of the boats.
Yes,
and
also like in the middle of the boat where all the. Like have all these arrows.
Where all the because like
they're getting in there too, like in the like
Zhuge Liang's like not worried at all. Lu Su's like ooh.
Yeah.
He's like just grab your straw dummy. Just grab your straw dummy. He'll protect you. But I do like Zhuge Liang. He like returns victorious after this. Obviously.
Well, the best shot of this is when he's returning victorious. Both sides still think they won.
Yes.
Because they're like both laughing. He's like cross cutting to both sides, thinking they won.
So
it's amazing.
Yeah, because like his laugh is so good too. Like Zhuge Liang's laugh is so good.
No, but the admirals laugh is funny too because they also thought they thought they won.
No,
because they thought they were retreating on after it. But.
No, exactly. It's like they're running like scared. They're running like scared mice or something. I think he calls them like scared mice or something in that scene. But yeah, he returns victorious, and Lu Su asks him like how he knew the fog was coming, and he responds: "A clear Milky Way and snaking clouds signal fog is near. If you know how Earth, sky, yin and yang change, then the sun, moon, and stars, the wind, forest, mountains, and fire all become soldiers at your command."
Damn.
It's an amazing quote. But that's what
I do like the idea of weather too, because that's what I was saying about like just like little details of big battles like this you don't think of. Like weather is obviously a huge factor.
I mean the tagline,
and that comes later too, where like Tony Leung like predicts like the wind change.
Yeah, I mean that's the tagline for this movie is "Destiny lies in the wind." So,
damn,
it works really well. But like, I mean, we know this just from like I know
sounds like a Brisson title, honestly, because Amanda Escape's the original title was the or the wind blows where it may or something.
Yeah, well, I mean, Balzar's Child is by chance, also.
Yeah,
so
exactly. But damn.
But
I had to get my Brisson reference.
Yeah. always.
Dave's like sweating. He's like, I was like, I need to get Brisson somehow. I need to do.
But I mean, I know we've been talking about how like sports nowadays are basically just places where these men basically would have been. Like,
no, honestly, that's why I thought he was kind of saying with the Kuja game, like kind of.
Oh yes, for sure.
End of the first one, beginning of the second one.
Yeah, but like we've seen obviously in sports, weather plays a massive factor.
Exactly. Yes.
Weather always plays
football,
a factor. So
annoyingly so.
Annoyingly so. Just get domes.
Yeah, exactly.
Rain games are fun. Rain games are fun, and snow games are fun.
Honestly, they're fun to watch. Yeah. It's just for fantasy purposes.
Let's get on the subject. No.
Yeah, I mean, we're in a great part of the movie, honestly, because I love these scenes. Like,
no, this is where the admirals.
Yeah, because the admirals return, and they're returning like victorious. They think, and because I love it whenever they jump off their ship, they're just like they got like these big smiles on their face. They're just like looking around and they get like kind of like worried because they're like, oh, everyone doesn't look like. They're like, what? This atmosphere is like really weird, guys. But whenever they walk up, they're just like, we've done everything you need. You needed Sao Sao. And he's like, seems like you are hiding something in that fog.
Yeah.
And then literally as he says that, the boat comes up like the straw dummy.
Because they asked, like, how many did you fire?
Yeah, 100,000 arrows.
He's like, 100,000 is mighty generous.
That's so good. And then, like, right as he says that, and, like, the like straw dummy comes up that Zhuge Liang like pushed off.
Yeah, with some of the arrows.
With some of the arrows, and like after that happens, Cao Cao reveals the letter to them, and they're like shocked by it, and it's like I love how one of them even says, "No spy is stupid enough to believe this," because it's true. But Cao Cao has them beheaded, and then one of his generals, like it's one of the greatest moments.
It's like really quick too. Yeah.
Yeah, one of his generals say, "Wait, if you kill them, who will lead the navy?" And then Cao Cao's like, "Wait!"
You literally hear "wait," and then you hear the head chop, and then the camera turns to like them being like, "Oh fuck!"
It's so good. It's so funny. It gets me every time.
Yeah,
I laugh so hard.
That's what I was saying. We're like, this guy's face works better than like Ken Watanabe's.
Oh, it would. Yeah.
Like in this moment where he's like,
it would not have worked as well. Yeah. But then we have the conclusion of the other storyline. So like Zhuge Liang coming back with his arrows. So we do have like a quick scene of him actually inventing a rapid fire crossbow, basically. Like I don't know when he did this, but he just invented it out of thin air, basically, and Tony Leung like says like, "Oh, you're made of like, you even know how to make weapons."
Knowing a trifle about everything gives life more color.
Exactly. But they're counting the arrows, and it comes up to 400 short. And Tony Leung basically says, "If these 400 aren't here, that means that your head is mine." And then those two guys running like late, or three guys like running late. Yeah. And they're like, "Why are you guys late on a moment like this?" But yeah, so like he gets saved, obviously. His head's fine, but he's like...
But now it's Tony
Leung's turn to sweat a little bit, you know? But Dove comes at the perfect moment to save him too. Dove comes and says that the admirals have been beheaded. So both of them get to keep their heads, but... after this, Cao Cao murders the stupid spy.
Yes. And
honestly, a great scene, because I love the quote that he says, like, as he's giving him the tea, he says, "Your stupidity was trivial, but you brought your stupidity upon me." and then he just, like, coughs up blood and dies like, right there with everyone watching. But they march in 2 days. So the princess sends word to Zhuge Liang. But in this scene, her cover is actually blown for the first time, or for real this time, basically, because someone that's not her friend sees her and says, "Catch the spy." But her friend comes and saves her, obviously. So
he's a commander. Yeah,
he's a battalion commander, and it's kind of done well because in terms of like her escape, because they play it off like, because it's two battalions fighting, they're just like, "Oh, it's some infighting, no worry, like don't worry about it." Like there's no like guards that are actually like thinking there's a spy.
Yeah.
So him actually saving her really like helped it out a lot, but I like Cao Cao. It's after this is Cao Cao delivering his speech to like the typhoid patients. That it's really a gross speech, honestly. Like, it's showing how charismatic he is to get these men to believe in him. But at the end of the day, you're getting these men that have typhoid to fight for you by saying like your 13-year-old son is like has been sick for his whole life, but he still gets up every day. Like, I think I actually wrote it. I can't remember where it was, but he says his youngest son, who's also sick, never complains about his hardship. Like, so he's basically saying, like, just because his son is sick, these men that are sick should fight for him, basically. Yeah. And this is when his doctor also leaves him. So his doctor also disagrees with him. But, Well, because he's looking for the doctor a little bit later, and then one of his men say, "Oh, he left
because of that."
And you think it's because of this, because John Woo does he does like shoot, like as Cao Cao's talking, he cuts to the doctor and his face looks like,
"Oh, okay."
Like, what are you doing? Basically,
this is a part of the movie which is a very like Hollywood kind of just a studio blockbuster thing. Is like, now even the villain is so bad that even his assistant generals are starting to be like, "Oh, this guy's so evil," you know, like he's going so far. Like, further than I ever thought, you know.
This is too far.
Yeah.
But it works.
Like we see that in the Last Hurrah for Chivalry. I'm pretty sure. Where the assistant, like, is it Last Hurrah? Which one was it? Where, like,
It's
it is.
no, it's hard boiled.
Is it
Philip
hard?
Quote.
Yes, it's hard boiled. I brought this up
Yeah.
too. Yeah. That one's way better. I'm not gonna lie.
Obviously, hard boiled is fucking amazing. I mean, come on. I mean, it works on sick patients though. They walk out like, "Oh, victory!" But
yeah, that's insane. Like maybe like you did say like this was kind of maybe not Chinese propaganda all the way, but it was like definitely Chinese nationalist kind of like that spirit. Yeah. So getting this kind of stuff in there is like maybe his way of like kind of maybe countering a little bit. Like it's not as like
he's like
just
not
like
agreeing with it.
Yeah, just by because this guy was still a Chinese commander or like an emperor. But.
Yeah. But after we see all this, after the princesses escape, she comes back to the Wu court, and as Danny has already said, doesn't really reveal that much that they didn't already know. But it is a really good scene of her like unraveling the map, basically, and it's a really fucking huge map, like. Because all that we saw her drawing was that little map that she was able to like put on the guy's head and like draw it. And then like we see this just like this giant fucking map that she unravels like it's like insane.
Or like where were all the other soldiers while she was doing this like in her camp? Like
she's a good spy, man. Apparently.
Yeah.
But I mean, the one thing that she does tell them that they didn't already know basically is that the ships are locked together. And after she tells them this, this is also cross-cut with Cao Cao. I have to mention that as well. Like both these war councils in this movie and both these parts are always cross-cut. Like they're always both sides talking at the same time, basically. But she, like after this, the Wu side basically decides if they're locked like this, we're going to use fire against them because if we can land a fire attack, it will devastate everything because they have all their ships locked together and they're in like this little like rivet, like a literally like an enclosed area. Like their entire ships are in this enclosed area, not able to escape if they actually have a force out there. So that's their plan. But Cao Cao's plan is also to use a fire attack because the wind is in his favor right now. The wind obviously plays a huge part in this movie, or in this, especially in this part, and so he wants to burn Redcliffe to the ground. But as he is saying this, we cut back to obviously the Wu side, and Zhuge Liang and Tony Leung are basically realizing this at the same time, like the wind is not with them. So Tony Leung goes and sets fire to the ships, like they're at like their war table or whatever. And says if we use a fire attack, this is what would happen. And he sets fire to the ships, and then the fire obviously blows to their allied ships.
It's a cool shot.
It's a very cool shot, honestly.
I was like, did they actually have model ships this good back then too? Like,
we'll have to. They probably were way better than now.
Maybe
Craftsmen back then.
Yeah, okay.
I was like,
man, they were going off.
Like models of like battlefields are so cool.
Yeah, this
just models of
just in general, too.
like that, like just like any like model figurine of like a military vehicle.
No, I love like
a
scene before a movie where they're like, this is the model setup.
Yeah, it's like so
area
cool.
enclosure. I think there's one of like that in Bitter Victory.
Of, like, I think so.
Yeah, the place they're going to like.
The heist.
The kill or whatever, the guy they're going to try to kill.
Yeah.
No, I love those movies.
But after this, like setting to the fire, like Zhuge Liang goes and looks at the clouds again, and he sees something that signals a reversal in the wind. And Tony Leung says, "History shows the timing of weather is key. He who can predict it will win." And then they basically say they must delay the attack. And as I haven't mentioned, but his wife has been kind of listening from the top of the stairs. And this is the moment she decides to go to Cao Cao's camp to delay the attack, obviously. So
to delay the attack from him too,
from him, because like if they attacked,
I didn't realize exactly why she decided to go.
Well, if they attacked like right then,
Cao
Cao would have won because the wind was in their favor.
on it. So she's trying to delay.
Yeah, they're just trying to.
But they never asked her to do that.
No.
Okay.
Yeah, she's just listening.
Okay.
Well, yeah, because like, this is a little bit later. I actually want to get to the scene first before I get to that. Before I get back to Zhao Yu's wife, because this is like a really short scene in this movie, but it's like what I consider John Woo in the movie, because Gan Jing, the general, is making explosives for their ships basically, and telling him they want the explosions bigger. This is the John Woo character to me in this movie, because he's just like bigger, and then every time they do it, he's like bigger, and he's like, "How big do you want it?" And he's just like. Huh. He just holds his arms out.
Damn, why didn't he cast himself?
Yeah.
He should have in this
movie. He usually does.
He should have. But whenever that last one goes off, he goes like, "Ooh!" and the fire just explodes.
Yeah,
and he's like, "That's about right." Oh, I love that. But yeah, Zhao Yu gets news that his wife is left after that scene. So that's the quick scene I want to get to before we get like the news that Zhao Yu gets that his wife is left, and she left a note saying that she is going to see Cao Cao and that she is pregnant.
And they it was it Sun Quan who's like, we can stop if you want. Tony Leung like shows the true hero. He's like, I don't care. Like we move on. We move forward.
Yeah. Well, because her note says like it's just more like kind of. This is also more like the kind of like propagandist theme of the movie, I guess. I don't know, where like the wife is saying like, even though I'm pregnant, I can't stay behind just for
like
me and the
nationalist.
baby.
It's definitely nationalist.
Nationalist propaganda a little bit, where the wife is saying like, I can't stay behind just because I'm in a position of power. Just because I'm pregnant, like because if I stay behind and Cao Cao wins, then that just means everyone here has lost their lives. Basically,
this is definitely the romanticization, epic nature of the movie versus like real history. Obviously, you know, it is a great shot when like we're basically there where she walks to the general. It's honestly some of the best like John Woo close-ups where there's like lights behind in the background, and then like when you close up, the lights come like right behind the face. You know, like it's so good.
It is so good. Yeah, we're not quite there yet, but we are almost there for sure. Because before we do that, we do get a quick scene with the Shu army again. Basically, the Shu generals are not very happy with Liu Bei, and they're all kind of like voicing their displeasure, and they're asking like, why don't we go back? And Liu Bei basically just says, I'm waiting for Zhuge Liang. So that's like that quick moment there. Because this is all happening, like they're making that like, I think it's Bao, or just like those dough balls for Winter Solstice, because it's cut with like Liu Bei's army making that while they're like kind of disgruntled at him, and him saying he's waiting for Zhuge Liang, with Zhao Yu and all their generals eating all those dough balls for the Winter Solstice. But now we do have the Cao Cao getting news that Zhao Yu's wife is here alone to see him.
But this is what I'm saying, like, yes, that's what I'm saying, like, there's maybe a different movie, like, if it was a little more streamlined, where, like, I still think it's a great scene, but where it would have hit a little more, where, like, this idea of him, like, he's chasing this woman this whole movie, and then all of a sudden she's, like, walking towards him. You know, this, like, woman he's only seen in a painting and stuff. Like, it is a great scene, but
I especially love it. I love it whenever she's like looking at the painting and then she turns slowly. Like,
he keeps cross-cutting too. Like there's that shot where he keeps cross-cutting her face and the painting's face. And
and Cao Cao's just like, I finally
exactly.
Basically, like,
like you think you might just stop the war now. Like.
I mean, that's what she asked. Basically.
Yeah, exactly.
But we do get like Zhao Yu and Zhuge Liang playing the Chen again together. I just love it whenever they play it together. But he asks like when the wind will change, and it's kind of crazy because Zhao Yu's like so good at predicting. He knows exactly when. He's like, it's around 1:00, and he says if he still believes in his friends to light a lantern, because this is obviously like their plans back in motion. Like the Shu army is coming back at this moment. But Zhao Yu's wife begins to stall Cao Cao. She basically threatens to kill herself at one point with that sword if he doesn't stop the war for the people of Wu, and then she makes tea for him. And this tea scene lasts honestly a while.
Yeah, it does.
A little bit too long, honestly. but
it's this is where I'm like, you can tell John Woo was like, I don't know if he's trying to on purpose, like not in a bad way, just like. He's trying to make her important as a character. Yeah. And it feels a little forced because, like, I don't know.
It definitely feels a little forced.
Like, he's trying to make her storyline very important to the overall, like, what's going to happen next. And I guess it does. Like, she stalls him a little bit, but...
It's honestly feels like it's just in there obviously for the stalling tactic, because it's obviously cut with both armies just, like, waiting, basically.
But it's like, is that really, like... I don't know,
it might just be there to build tension, honestly, because it does do a decent job at building tension of like in terms of like when the wind will switch, because it is cutting between both armies, looking at the wind basically as they're having tea, waiting for that. So that might be the reason this is kind of drawn out a little bit. But at the end of the day, it is in there just so she can like pour the tea to overflowing and then tell him that quote.
To that quote, like, but I do like the idea, like you just said, of. This idea of these two huge armies just like waiting for wind.
And waiting for one guy to signal an attack, basically.
Yeah, exactly. So. Yeah, that's just a cool idea.
Yeah, because like I mean the stalling obviously works.
Yeah.
But I do love the quote. Like she says, "Don't you see your true self reflected in this tea? Your heart is overflowing with ambition. It's too full to let other people in. You've carried this full heart to Redcliffe. Someone here will pour that heart onto the floor."
Oh my god.
And then it has that transition shot from her like dumping the tea to like the moon. This is like what I'm saying. Like there are still some amazing transition shots in this movie. It's just not. There's just way too many of the ones where it's just like the screen cutting, like the sword cutting. It's
kind of mid. Like we still get some of those. Like
he still gets some of them in here, man. And this one's really good, but. The attack finally begins after this because as she's like dumping the tea out and the moon shot happens, the wind shifts, and Zhao Yu basically signals the advance. And the fire ships land with devastating effects. It's a mixture of CGI and real practical stunts that is actually pretty decent, honestly.
Especially some of these shots where I was like, this reminded me of Pirates of the Caribbean. I think I mentioned that before the episode. But like some of these like ship battles, that mix of CG, but also you can tell it's like practical too.
Yes, the practical is way. I don't want to say way less because it's
lesser than Pirates.
Definitely less than Pirates for sure, and the CGI is obviously worse than Pirates. But they didn't have that Disney money, I guess.
But it's that kind of idea of like mixing those two and like with these ships, especially.
Yeah,
and
the practical effects on the explosions are fucking insane in this scene. Like, I don't know when the stuntman died because, like I said earlier, before the break, like there was one stuntman that died in the production of this movie. It had to have been in this scene, honestly. Like, this scene's insane.
It is, yeah. It's a little chaotic, I'm not gonna lie. It's like, to see what's going on, like, especially since we know both sides are trying to use fire. So I'm like, okay, which, like, a little bit it becomes confusing, but it is cool to watch, though.
Yeah, and that's, whenever it becomes a little confusing, he does kind of, like, just draw back and let you see the battle from, like, afar again. And then it's just showing, like, just how the wind is affecting everything, like the spread of the wind to all the other ships in that CGI shot. But then we have the Shu army charging the Cao Cao's main camp because they have come to the rescue. We did have this really quick scene of like them lighting the lanterns as like Zhao Yu was signaling the attack, and then it's like Zhuge Liang like over there, and he just like has his like goose feather fan or whatever, and like swings it, and the wind comes. It's just like so dumb and epic.
He says like he always carries it for. I forget what in the first.
He says in the first part. He's like it helps me. It helps my anxiety or something. He's helps me keep from being anxious. So, but yeah, like Zhao Jian. This is just like more of like Zilong being like cool as shit. It's just more of the army's just more of like Liu Bei's army being cool as shit. But I kind of like it because Cao Cao is shocked that he's returning. He's like, Liu Bei! The actor for Cao Cao is great. I'm really glad they got him instead of Ken Watanabe, honestly. But like,
I know exactly what you're Yeah. This is what I'm saying. Like, this like kind of clueless part of the second half is like, his face works great for
Works so good. But I do have in my notes, like, John Woo is definitely doing his best in these scenes to make it as practical as he can. And he is really doing a great job at it. So, specifically for the charging of the main gate. I know I mentioned this in part one, but like whenever they're charging that main gate and like putting down all the shields to like raise the palisades, there's a lot of practical shit going on. That's all basically practical. And like Ganjing sacrifices himself blowing up the fucking like main gate basically. Like after all this has happened, like we've seen a lot of people die. Like this is where like you could see like Zhao Yu, like his like there's no winner in this war basically come to play because he's seeing what's happening in this moment, like all these people dying around him for like no reason basically, and then his wife's also in there, but yeah, like Ganjin sacrifices himself. That reminded me of Lord of the Rings: Two Towers. Anyone? Do you remember, Dan?
No?
Damn.
I
People will know maybe, but yeah, the assault. The next we get the assault on the main gate of their camp, and it's also pretty great. It's just like more of just like explosions and explosion barrels, just more of that. Like I know, like
this is a lot of the big. You have to watch like this is where these are the scenes where you're watching John Woo like action.
This is the big explosion that the fire basically engulfs everything, and Cao Cao's like, "There's no way they're still alive. No one can withstand that." And then you just see the shields walking.
Yes. Oh yes.
It's so good.
Yes. Yeah.
Because
there's some great shots like after the shields are walking, like with the fire like over the shields, like. It like looks really intimidating. Like all you see is the shields and the fire. It's like some great shots.
And they're like, we'd have to stay together because if we don't, we're basically gonna burn alive. But they do charge with that shield formation, which works really well again. So,
This is where, well, you saying that is kind of just like, this is why I don't like the part 2 as much as like, this is where the movie feels like, okay, we're seeing, even though we're seeing a cool wave happen, it's already over.
It's definitely over.
Like, it's like,
no, this is a wrap. It's a wrap.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, South.
So that's why it's like, it feels so long for being a blowout, Yeah.
Like, his generals are literally saying like we should retreat now.
Yeah,
he's like, why would I retreat whenever my best generals are willing to give their lives for me right now? It's just like
he's like, his logic makes no sense.
Man, no sense. He's just like, I mean, I think he says earlier like he's never lost a battle, and you can see it in this battle.
Yeah, he just has that confidence.
He just has like,
even though we saw him lose the battle in the last movie.
We did, yeah. That was a skirmish. It was a skirmish.
For him, I guess.
But yeah, they have their charge into Cao Cao's like main camp. I love like Guan Yu standing on the shields. That was my favorite part, honestly, of this. But just a shit ton of people dying, obviously. But they're on the doorstep, and now Ji Long, Zhao Yu, and Sun Quan are like this is like Sun Quan's kind of called back to the tiger scene because he's looking for Cao like he was looking for the tiger, and you just see Cao between like all the curtains and shit, just kind of like looking around. It's so good.
But this is where I was saying like we don't even see him until like really this scene. Like
no, he's basically been gone this entire movie. So it's a really good scene though. Now that he's back though,
this is where like we're getting some of these some like narrative ties that like maybe feel a little forced because like there's also I mean we might have skipped it maybe not where the sister. We also see her like.
Oh yeah, no, that's coming up actually.
Oh, okay.
So. I mean, it's literally like that's also cross cut in here.
Yeah, this is like all this is kind of happening at the same time. But like, we see the sister like see her friend that saved her now fighting for her side on the right side.
It's so dumb.
Yeah, it's like this guy dies. Like
it's just
he's
like
already here. Oh, it's like I feel so bad for this guy.
I feel so bad for it because he's like. He's about to kill her and like be fine, basically. Yeah. She's like, "It's me, Piggy." Yeah. He's
like, "You can honestly blame her for him dying because he's just like standing there, like in shock, and then he gets shot 3 times. Like
him getting shot 3 times, it makes me laugh every time. Though, I'm just like, "Oh my god!"
Plus, it does one of the like my least favorite things in the movie is, and like this helped me realize this is like if it's like 2 characters have like one scene from a previous movie, like in this one it's like where they're like she's like riding on his shoulders and stuff. So later on when like that emotional moment when they die, they have to either cut to the flashback or like the actual event of like, oh, remember how the great times we had? It's like one other scene of like them together in the movie, and that's it. Like there was literally no other character building, but it's like, oh, we have to go through all this. Like, oh, we get it. It's a sad moment. Like,
you could definitely cut it out. You could definitely cut that out.
If you would have just like never shown these characters in the second movie,
I literally skipped over that. Actually, that did happen before.
Yeah, it did. Yeah, that's in my notes. I happened before. That's what I was like.
I literally did skip over it. So I mean, it's not important. So.
In the movie, it
is. But yeah, we're back with. I mean, we're coming back to the main story of like they're hunting for Cao Cao basically, and for Zhao Yu's wife as well, or Tony Long's wife. And they eventually find Cao Cao. And like it's a classic John Woo standoff, except it's with swords now. Because it's like Tony Long is holding his sword up to Cao Cao, Cao Cao's holding it up to him, and then we have the general. It's literally the face-off ending. Yeah. It's literally the face-off ending, except with swords. So, and Cao Cao is literally like, why don't you give a look upstairs? Basically, he like looks up, and it's just his wife up there with his other general. After we see that little reveal that his general's there, Zhao Yu knows he's like kind of defeated, so he doesn't try that much. But we see Zhao Zilong come up from behind, like go up there, rescue his wife barely. Like he kicks the general down like completely off the building, and then like rescues the wife like before dropping her a little bit. He does drop her, but Tony Long is there saving the day.
Insane catch that like makes no sense. Like,
it makes absolutely no sense.
She falls off from like 2 stories, and he like catches her, and like he falls on a table or something too.
He falls on something.
Yeah,
but. We do have like Sun Quan shooting Cao Cao's top knot completely off. That's a great shot, honestly. Yeah, that's a great shot, honestly, though. Like because it's just like because I have like his. I know it's. I don't know if I have it on my notes, but he's just like there in front of the flame, just kind of like laughing because he's like still overconfident. He knows he's won basically, and then all this shit happened. And then it's just like him just screaming in front of the flames as his hair comes down. He's like, ah!
I do like the hair coming down at the end.
It's so good. But yeah, Cao Cao's defeated, and then it ends with the kind of callback to the horse that literally never play another part of this movie besides these 2 moments, where it's just like Zhao Yu.
There's a great quote though where he says, I forgot which one says it. From division comes unity, and from unity division.
Yes, no, there are a few great quotes in this because it's just more so. It's just more of them talking about like we're basically going to be enemies because.
Well, I mean, maybe you could say it's not fleshed out in this movie as well, but it just it's cool about learning about certain cultures, especially Chinese history. Is like there's just these ebbs and flows, like throughout history. Like at one point, this person's evil, and then like they're probably gonna fight each other in the future, and like that's what it is. Like learning what these different kingdoms are. And
it's one thing that makes. Like, I do know a little bit about, obviously, Chinese history. Like, Liu Bei and Cao Cao were allies first, and then Cao Cao, like, attacked Liu Bei and, like, forced him out of his home. And that's what made them, like, become enemies. Then, like, Liu Bei, I don't think he ever helped Cao Cao after that. But it's like, every character in this movie has history with other characters in this movie, basically. So it's just a little bit, like, if you know more backstory, it makes the movie more fun, obviously. Or a little, obviously.
I can see that for sure,
but yeah, it does end with, like, them gifting him the horse and her saying like don't make him a war horse again. And I do think it's very unfortunate that it ends with that CGI shot, but it still doesn't look bad.
Like the zoom out shot.
Yeah, the zoom out shot, just like what China used to look like apparently, or like I don't know what it used to look like, but that's probably a good rendition or a good rendering of it. But I mean, hey, it's a great movie. I still think it's a great movie. I still love this movie, but that is the end of Red Cliff Part 2, and that is the end of our John Woo series. So. Before we close this episode out, I don't have any questions for you guys, I don't think, because I completely forgot. I was moving this week.
Not a curious person, obviously. No.
You have no idea how hard it was moving this week, and then also watching a 5-hour-long movie. Like, I was like, oh my god, why did I do this?
I barely had the time. I was working all this week, and I barely had time.
Dude, it's a long movie.
It was tough.
It's a long movie, but that's great. But, so we're just going to end with our John Woo rankings. So who wants to go first?
You want to go first?
I'll go first.
I'm interested in Luke's, honestly, because I have no idea what your rankings are. I know Face Off is 1, but...
whoa. Don't spoil it here. Number 10, or I guess number 9, just Red Cliff, I guess.
No, Red Cliff's one movie, just count as one.
Number 8, Lost Hurrah for Chivalry. Number 7, Plain Jane to the Rescue. Number 6, Hard Target. Number 5, Bullet in the Head. Number 4, The Killer. Number 3, A Better Tomorrow. 3 and 4, they're like basically tied. Basically, they're like basically the same for me right now. Which a lot of these could go up on rewatch, especially like Bull in the Head. Number 2, Hard Boiled. Number 1, Face Off.
Okay. I'm a true Woo fan.
What?
I said a true Woo fan.
Oh, I think you said not a true Woo fan.
I said a true Woo fan. Face Off at number 1. I love it. Okay.
My number 9 is Plain Jane. Number 8, Red Cliff. Number 7, Last Hurrah for Chivalry. Number 6, Hard Boiled. Number 5, The Killer. Number 4, Hard Target. Number 3, Blow in the Head. Number 2, Face Off. Number 1, A Better.
4 Hard Target above Hard Boiled is fucking insane. I'm sorry.
I mean, I have the same rating.
And The Killer.
I have the same rating.
Killer,
that's insane.
They're all the same to me, like the same tier.
I did not even.
You know that.
No,
you were making a statement.
I mean, Hard Target just has.
Bro, I was so shocked that Hard Boiled was like, or that Hard Target was above Hard Boiled that I completely forgot that you said The Killer after Hard Boiled. So I was like, oh my god.
I mean, they're about the same. Wait, you think Hard Boiled is better than The Killer?
No, The Killer's better than The Killer.
Yeah, that's what I said.
Yeah. I'm just saying Hard Target.
Hard Target. I mean, they're about the same.
Oh my god, I'm gonna die.
But my top 3 is easily the top 3 of my top 3 Woo movies.
What was your top 3?
Bullet in the Head, Face Off, and Better Tomorrow. So now it's
almost there. No, yeah. So my number 9, sadly, Last Hurrah for Chivalry. Yeah, that one fell a little bit on rewatch for me. Number 8, Plain Jane to the Rescue. Number 7, Red Cliff. 6, Hard Target. 5, Hard Boiled. 4, Bullet in the Head. 3, Face Off. 2, The Killer, and 1, A Better Tomorrow.
Face Off 3.
Wow,
not a true Woo fan.
Not a true Woo fan.
This is what I'm saying is I do like Woo's at least 2 best American movies a lot, actually.
Oh,
Hard Target.
Yeah, no, Hard Target is still great, dude.
Yeah.
Like I
just love the cheesiness of it. No, I just love the cheesiness of it.
It's not that wild, honestly, having it above it.
It's above them. It just
It's pretty wild.
In terms,
it's pretty wild.
I'm trying to take it.
It's just that if I'm picking a Chow Yun-Fat Woo movies, obviously Better Tomorrow's number 1. So it's like I wanted to have a Hard Target. I mean, they're basically the same. They're same tiers. So
this guy like Jean-Claude Van Damme more than Chow Yun-Fat.
Well, no, I have Better Tomorrow number 1.
So, in terms of aggregate ranking, Chow Yun-Fat's lower than Jean-Claude Van Damme.
None of these Hard Target and Hard Boiled don't have Wilford Brimley as like a French explosion expert or whatever he is. Like,
He's a distiller.
oh yeah, no, but he's also
moonshine maker.
Oh yeah, but he's also
and also an explosives expert,
yeah.
military expert. A hard target's amazing.
Yes,
No hate here. But yeah, that was the end of a very fun series, honestly.
Yes.
And next week we are doing a 90s draft, I think. So I'm sure John Woo will be appearing in that draft as well. But
Why are you looking at me like that?
well, hey, I'm looking at myself, but no. If you're not taking hard boil, I will, or boil in the head. But
Face Off was in the 90s.
and,
Face Off too, yeah, and both yeah.
Face
Face
Off.
Off,
That's gonna be a hard one
yeah, Face Off will probably go early.
to me.
But yeah, so 90s draft next
But
week.
yeah, 90s draft next week. Until then, we hope to see you guys flowing through the clouds.